Hello, Philadelphia! I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gargano Show!
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Well, this is the Anthony Gargano Show, and we have the good, the very good, and the very bleeping, frustrating, excruciating. That's our menu to talk about what happened in Philadelphia over the weekend. This is the Anthony Gargano Show presented by Rite Aid, your neighborhood pharmacy. Visit your local Rite Aid today. Stock up on allergy relief or catch up on immunizations for RSV, shingles, and more. Walk in and schedule a vaccine appointment at riteaid.com. Yes, that was the weekend in a nutshell. The good, the very good, and the very, very excruciatingly frustrating and a bit embarrassing, too. All right, let's start off with the good, because the good is the Phillies. The Phillies, 19-10 after sweeping the Padres yesterday. The bats are alive. Stott, Bohm, daycare. I mean, what a weekend. Like, they go to the West Coast and they just roll through the Padres. That Padres team's a good team. That's not some piker team. They go out and they just rough up Musgrove, Brad. They roughed them up. And then they just, Walker comes back, and you know it's going to be a bats game. And guess what? They outlast the Padres. 8-6. They go 8-6. They sweep them. They're 5-2 on the road trip. They go to the Angels. They're in L.A. for the next 3 with the Angels, and they're 19-10. So we talk about that being the good, and it's going to be a good summer. They're 19-10 now, man. When do they come home and they just start banging the ball around? Like, that's what's going to happen. And of course, the very good. And I don't mean to bury the lead, because if there is one big story in Philadelphia, it was the draft. And I know how people think of it. We've had this discussion about draft, and there's draft grades. And my buddy Vinny goes, dude, what's the deal with these draft grades? Like, they're ridiculous because it's all subjective. Like, you don't know. You're not grading off of anything tangible. It's all opinion. And he's right. Like, we don't know how it's going to turn out. I loved the Jordan Davis draft. And we're still waiting for Jordan Davis to kind of show up and be a force. So how we feel about the draft immediately after doesn't really matter in the long run. But all you have is what you got now, and that's kind of how you read it, right? How you look at it. And I got to tell you, I loved it. I loved everything they did with that draft. First of all, the board, the way it falls Thursday night, it hands you Mitchell. So you got handed an incredible cornerback. Like, just, I think the kid's a stud. And, I know there's the talk, Toledo or Alabama, all that stuff. Listen, I love Mitchell. I'm going to tell you in a second what some NFL people think about Mitchell. They love him. And then on Friday, you trade up and you get Cooper DeJean. Now, this is an unbelievable draft to attack a a crucial unit of need, your secondary. And the beauty of DeJean is you got a slot corner and he can play safety. Like, you got a legit force, and he was terrific at Iowa. He's a great athlete. So I talked to Steve Spagnuolo over the weekend, and Spags and I were talking about it. He loved Mitchell. He loved DeJean. He goes, dude, I wouldn't even be against playing him on the outside. He said, you guys got two studs. Now it's funny because Spags is a bit jealous because, you're the DC. He lost one of his best corner, one of his best secondary pieces. So he's sitting there going, I need secondary help. And he sees the Eagles grab those two, and you go, wow. I mean, just completely impressive to start. And then you remember we have talked about this name, and we're going to have Baldi on at 10 o'clock to talk about it because we saw the tape, and this was a name that has been out there for the Eagles. Jalix Hunt, all right? He's from Houston Christian. He's the edge rusher. He was the wow factor. I know small school, but I don't need to go through chapter and verse, beginning with Jerry Rice and Mississippi Valley State and the whole thing. Listen, you can get studs. This kid, again, talking to people around football, a lot of people in love with him. And you get a beast off the edge. I love that, man. I do. I think Hunt, he was in there. Eagles liked him. I thought he went perfect. Then, interestingly, they go with Will Shipley, who is like your Taysom Hill type. He's a running back, can play quarterback, like a bigger, force, the short yardage guy. So I love that. Naya Smith from A&M, who's a slot receiver, can return some kicks. I mean, and then you go Trot Jr., the baby ox. I mean, in the 5th round, I love it. I love this draft. I love it. You go get Trevor Keegan, who's from Michigan. And again, 5th round guards from Michigan have a shot. So you put yourself in a position with a shot. Same thing with McMahon, who comes from NC State, who you got later. And then they take a shot with Johnny Wilson, who's a 6'6" receiver out of Florida State who's got some speed. So I look at that draft, and Mekhi Becton, you add to the offensive line. Now, Becton was a disappointment with the Jets because of injury. But here's the thing. If the guy ever stays healthy, you got another offensive line piece. I got to tell you, I love this roster. I think the roster is incredible. I love what they did with this roster. Now, it's going to be up to Jalen. It's all up to Hurts because he's going to have a line in front of him. He's got weapons everywhere. All right? The defense will be better. And it's all going to be on his lap because this roster, as he look now again, I'm with you on rookies and counting on rookies, and what it seems like now may not be the way it pans out. But I think Mitchell and DeJean are going to contribute right away. I think they help solidify your secondary. Look, you saw Bradbury last year; he cooked, right? So there's already talk about how Bradbury's not going to he's going to get moved or his playing time will be limited. So when you kind of look at it all, I mean, I love their roster. Their roster is completely set up to win. They took care of A.J. Brown. Like, I don't see any empty kind of spots here. Like, I don't see a lot of weakness on this roster. I'm thoroughly impressed by what the Eagles have put together and Howie Roseman. I just think that this roster is just put together, man. Just fantastic. So that's the very good of the weekend. Now to the very excruciating. Game 4, yesterday, 1 o'clock, ABC, in what felt like New York City. It felt like the Garden South. I mean, It was unbelievable. You got to be kidding me. The way the Knicks fans took over the Wells Fargo Center, the way the Knicks took over that game in the fourth quarter. Once again, the team that wanted it more won. Josh Hart, 17 rebounds. The Knicks, once more, they get a ton of second chance opportunities. I mean, one after another, 15 offensive rebounds. They out-rebounded the Sixers by 10, including that fitful exchange down the end where they get 3 offensive boards on that one possession down the stretch. You want to talk about frustrating. And I got to tell you, I know the bench has been just horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And yesterday, more of the same, 6 points. I mean, you basically get campaign, and that was really it. You can't play Joe Embiid. You can't play him the entire second half. I got to tell you, I know that Paul Reed looks lost, and I said it, and he makes mistakes, and but you got to figure something out. You can't have him play the entire second half and play 44 minutes. I mean, you lose him for the stretch. Their offense, their set offense was embarrassing inside the last 5 minutes. He had nothing. Did you see him 35 feet from the basket, tugging at his shorts, not in the play? So now what you have is you got Embiid out of the play. So what did the Knicks do? They blitz Maxey. So he's got nowhere to go. And then you got Tobias the friendly ghost and the ghost of Buddy Hield, who can't even get on the floor because he's such a mess. There's so much Kelly Oubre is going to do. He was completely useless for the last 6 minutes of that game. He was completely gassed. He is 7'2", 300 pounds. He's got a shallow tank. You saw it. Once again, they get out-rebounded. Nick Nurse has to figure out a way. I know you don't want to take him off the floor, and I get it's the playoffs, but you can't have him just giving away possessions. And then it comes to 1-2. And then you wonder, what's the soul of this team? What's the soul of it? Is that just, and people are going to say, this is who they are. And it happens every year. And I can't argue. And I feel like a sucker. And I'm going to, hey, I was already trying to convince myself, well, you win Tuesday. If you win tomorrow night, who knows, right? Then you come back home, and then it's game 7, right? Like, that's how my mind's working. But meanwhile, they can't close out any games. So that's foolish. That's just myself not looking at what's in front of me, which is they can't finish games. They had every opportunity to win that one. They had control of that basketball game. God bless Jalen Brunson, right? He scores 47. The Sixers as a team score 92. He has 47, put on an epic display. It was an epic game. We talk about Embiid's 50-burger in game 3. Well, Jalen Brunson's even more impressive. 47 yesterday, and he completely wills them to win. But they wanted it more. Like, that's where you keep coming down to, because defense and rebounding is one. And you just don't get enough from Tobias. You don't get enough from your bench. And then you're left with, Embiid playing 44 minutes and relying everything on Maxey, putting everything on his shoulders with the ball in his hands, and 38-year-old Kyle Lowry. Wow, man, just so frustrating. Because, look, we didn't think they would beat Boston, but they had this series. They've had, if you throw out game one, because the game one, you could have made a case that they could have won. Game two, they should have won, up 5 with 30 seconds to go. And then yesterday, they should have won. And in the most important moments of the game, they shrink. And I don't know what to say other than this feels like their DNA. Frustrating. Absolutely frustrating. That's Popping Off, brought to you by Olipop. Check out Olipop, the soda that's incredibly tasty, but also good for you. And you can find it at Wawa. Good morning, JP.
Buenos dias, cuz. How we doing?
You and I look like twins.
Yeah, we're at the funeral of the Sixers right now.
Oh, my God. I know. It's a killer.
That's what it felt like yesterday. But, like, the thing is like, we should have came here on Monday morning all happy. We shouldn't be wearing black, right? Because the Phillies, let's give some props to other Philly sports team. The Phillies had a great weekend. The Bats are coming alive.
I told you. It's the good, the very good,
the Howie
draft, the very frustrating.
Howie draft was fantastic. I mean, you had the 2002 vibes, right?
Yeah,
you get the two secondary pieces. I love getting the value pick at Jalix Hunt right there. Will Shipley, you mentioned that could be a little bit of a weapon. We can probably change some things at the goal line. Obviously, the best one was getting Trot Jr., who, by the way, we had here on the show. Yeah. Maybe you were manifesting that a little bit. That was awesome to see. But then, you move on to, the Blitzer and Harris ownership. I give it that because we're going to throw in the Union here a little bit because on Saturday night, the Real Salt Lake comes in, who is owned by the Blitzer and Harris group, beat us, a game that they should have won. You move into Sunday, the team that they own, that's our team, in Game 4, does not show up. The majority of the team does not show up. I know we want to kill Joel Embiid here on the day like today because it is frustrating. And obviously, we saw the lack of play here in the fourth quarter from him. But at the end of the day, like I look at Jalen Brunson, right? 47 points. If you're an outsider, watch this game. Like that's a fun performance to watch. That kid played with so much heart. And that rest of the team played with so much heart.
Well, and
where's our heart?
Well, listen, you completely get it right. In Philadelphia, listen, for whatever we talk about DNA, the DNA of this town is about 1-2. It's about heart and grit. Like, that's what it's always been. It's always been about grit. We used to mock it. We used to talk about it incessantly. Muckers and grinders, right? Chris Coast. It was always the story of the backup. Nick Foles, grit, defense, toughness, heart. And this team is the antithesis of it.
And ironically, the Knicks have like 3 Philly kids, so there you
right.
go. So that's where that great grind comes
between
from.
the way Brunson played,
where
the way Josh Hart played, it was ridiculous. DiVincenzo sticking his nose,
game 2,
right? He's sticking his nose in there.
Yeah,
and look, they had no Mitchell Robinson.
I know.
Like you can't even cry about anything because they got no Mitchell Robinson. They have out-hearted us. They have out-Philadelphia'd us. I always like to use Philadelphia as an adjective. And they have out-Philadelphia'ized us, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And then, you hear, Tobias Harris in the presser after the game, and he's talking about, they out-hustled us. Well, Tobias has been here for how long now? How many playoff series are we talking about games where the other team's out-hustling us?
I got news for you. He wasn't on the floor when they closed out the playing game against Miami. I mean, why is he on the floor? I know in that game, you look at it, and Nico was on fire, right? Now, Batum's not going to knock down 5 or 6 threes. It's just not going to do that. That's a blue moon game that he had against Miami. However, he'll put his nose and get dirty and grab a board. Where's Tobias at? He kills you on so many levels because he gives you empty minutes. Just hollow, empty minutes. 10 points and 8 rebounds. What? 10 points and 8 rebounds, and you're playing, 35 minutes?
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, seriously, that's just, it killed them yesterday. Tobias and the ghost of Buddy Hield. I'm a fool because I thought Buddy Hield, it's going to be a great fit with Embiid back, space the floor, the whole thing just makes sense from a basketball, standpoint, right? From an X and O standpoint. And he is afraid to shoot.
You got the TV
He's
shot.
running away from the ball.
You get the TV shot in like the second quarter, Buddy Hield on the sideline. He's just like sitting there like watching. Like,
He
dude,
wants nothing to do with the game.
that's insane
And
to
Nick
me.
Nurse is going, I can't play him.
Oh my, that's
And
insane
I
to me.
don't blame him.
We're talking about playoff basketball. You don't want to get in the game? What do you play basketball for?
No, you watch. You know what the thing is? You watch campaign in the limited time, and like that kid's got
I
stones.
love this game, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that kid's got stones. Now he is what he is, and there's a limit to what he's going to give you. But he's got stones. I give Oubre credit. He's not the smartest guy or basketball guy on the floor sometimes, but my man's not afraid of the moment.
No.
And he's playing hard.
But it's not even just the
Like
play.
he's playing hard. Where's the bias? Where's he at? He used to be able to rebound. He can't even rebound anymore.
He's too busy trying to look good. Like listen, he's the type of guy that wants to look good out on the court. He's got the fresh white sneakers. That's what he's worried about. He's worried about how he looks.
I don't know.
He's not worried about getting down and dirty and making those
he's never
boards,
been
getting in the lane.
See, I shouldn't say that because there were series in the past where he would play really good defense and rebound.
Yeah.
Like, truthfully, that's what I want from him. I don't need him if he hit a spot up three from the corner. Hey, great. But all I really need him to do is rebound and play defense.
But something simple, cuz if you see Dante DiVincenzo or McBride guarding you, I'm taking them to the paint, cuz at that size, he doesn't even do that.
Well, he's not
he
gonna
doesn't
do
feast
that.
off of that.
But all those players, we talk about Josh Hart and we talk about DiVincenzo, and you just mentioned Bake McBride, right? Like, I mean, they're all energy guys.
That's really what it is.
Where's the energy player for the Sixers?
I can't really pinpoint.
Where's the
one.
energy guy?
I mean, the guys who are energy guys, Maxey and Embiid, they've been giving everything we
Maxey's
can.
right, but no energy. No, from anywhere else.
Yeah, he didn't step up in the fourth. That
God.
Maxey.
Oh my God, it's so frustrating.
Here we
It
go
really
again.
is.
Here we
But
go
here
again.
it goes back to the good and the very good. The good news is you got a baseball team, like a legit top of the division baseball team.
It's hitting season.
That's
cuz.
going to be in it all year long. That's going to give us joy through all down the shore months, right? The whole thing. Phils are fun. They're a fun team. By the way, the Ranger. The Ranger's fabulous.
my
So
boy.
you're gonna have fun. You have a baseball team, and then the very good, you'll have training camp in August.
Oh man, guys, what are you doing us? No.
Well, I mean, I gotta speak the truth.
Can't wait.
No, you're right. You're right.
That's right.
Oh man.
How about Andrew? You can't wait for it. This team looks. Oh my God, they look like they're gonna be fun. Anyway, there it is. There's your there's your opening. That's going to be your show today, as you can well imagine. A lot of Eagles draft talk. Baldi will join us at 10 for the Meat Locker. Bo Wolf, Eagles, PHLY. He's going to join us coming up next in the big story. So we'll talk to Bo. We got Baldi. Kyle Neubeck will join us, talk some Sixers. We love Kyle from our all PHLY Sixers show. So we'll talk to Kyle, and then we'll have our clubhouse. Lots to do with the daily grind with the brain. Lot to do on a Monday across the Delaware Valley. It's the Anthony Gargano Show. And let me tell you about Butcher Box. I love this Butcher Box. Baldy's coming up to Meat Locker. When you have family, and it was funny, I was talking to my buddy Vinny about food and the kids and prices, right? Vinny and Boo, we were talking about this and how exorbitant the prices are. Well, this is where a Butcher Box, you want to help a family? I mean, you talk about premium meat, seafood you can trust, 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, pork-raised, crate-free, and wild-caught seafood. Humanely raised, no antibiotics, and no added hormones. I mean, just good meat. And my kids are carnivores, so this is going to be great. In fact, we're awaiting the box of steaks and burgers We got the all beef box to get us started on the Butcher Box, delivered right to your doorstep, free shipping, curated the customized box plan. So whatever your family's tastes are, between the beef and the chicken and the pork and the seafood, they got it all, man. Check it out. butcherbox.com/PHLY. Use the code PHLY, 20% off your first box, $20, off your first box. $20 off. You can't beat it. I mean, this is good food. We're in grilling season. So I'm telling you, my advice, head over to butcherbox.com/PHLY. Code PHLY, $20 off your first box.
That's right. Well, you heard Cuz trying to get you excited for the Philly sports landscape as we head into summer. Well, why not try to get you excited for some house buying, ladies and gentlemen? I know a lot of people are waiting for those housing prices and those interest rates to go down. Well, why don't you get your process started here with our friends over at Mortgage CS? Because Mortgage CS offers refinancing options, including rate and term refinances for rate/payment reductions or cash out refinances. And you're wondering, what does Mortgage CS actually stand for? Well, it stands for Mortgage Concierge Service. It is a white glove service that is based right here in the city of Philadelphia, and it's an independent mortgage broker, but they're not just only located here in Philly, but they are available coast to coast here in the United States. They're here to educate and empower all of their clients and help the clients obtain ultra competitive rates with their exceptional customer service. So what are you waiting for? Right now, if you're watching live, on the corner of the screen, you see Ben Stucker. He's the CEO of Mortgage CS. You can text him 267-391-7425. Ask him, what does he think about the Sixers right now? I'm sure he's not feeling too good about the Sixers. You mean ask him about the draft, ask him about the Phillies bats because they are heating up as well. Or, of course, you can ask him about some of the housing buying advice that he gives out as well. You can email him as well, ben@mortgagecs.com. But what are you waiting for? Head on over right now to mortgagecs.com/PHLY to get started here today. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS ID 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com for more information.
My boy. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk some draft and the very good that was this weekend as the Eagles, I think, aced the 2024 draft. That's the big story presented by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Check out TrueMark.com/PHLY or stop at your local branch to learn more about the credit union difference at TrueMark Financial today. And joining us from All Eagles Show, PHLY, there he is, Bo Wolf. Good morning, Bo.
How we doing, cuz?
I like the hat.
Gotta rock the merch.
Yeah.
Got my PHLY hat on. I gotta tell you, yesterday it's like noon. We're at the playground with the kids, and I think to myself, I might as well check out our friends at Game Time, see what the ticket prices are for the Sixers game. Me and my buddy, we just took the subway down, went to the game. It was ugly, cuz.
You were there?
I was there on the upper deck.
So how bad was the takeover? Right?
So here's my take on it. I think that the lower level was like 85-15 Sixers fans. The upper level was like 50-50 and a vocal and like the loudness factor was way heavy on the Sixers or on the Knicks rather. But like there's this obnoxious Knicks fan in front of me who's whistling the whole time and he's having a good time and we had a nice little back and forth. But like he's going crazy in the fourth quarter and I just tap him on the shoulder. I'm like, buddy, you got to realize nobody hates the Sixers more than Sixers fans.
Right.
Like
right.
You're barking up the wrong tree. Like nobody else is more upset with the Sixers' lack of rebounding than the Sixers fans are.
Well, it was funny. I brought this up at the start of the show, Bo, since we're talking about it. You understand this town. You're from here. You get it. It's about grit, heart. It's always been. And the one mortal sin is you can't be out-hearted in a playoff series. The people will not tolerate being out-hearted.
Yeah, I mean, you watch that game and it's like, oh, here we go again. So why would you be like vocally in support of that? Like I sort of get where Embiid is coming from in his comments, but like, give them something to cheer about, give them something to be excited about. And yeah, like that New York team, like they're not the most talented team,
No.
but they're certainly out hustling the Sixers on the floor in pretty much every possession.
Listen, I mean, this whole town's been that way. Go back to the whole Flyers thing. The Flyers were always the grit and the hustle team. The Eagles, when they win it, the grit, the hustle, Nick Foles, right? Like all that whole storyline. The Phillies, like it's always been that, right? That's always been a hallmark of teams and what this town loves. And seeing your team being just crushed, annihilated on the boards, and in the possession where they get 3 offensive rebounds is the nail in the coffin.
Oh my, yeah, it was like the exasperation in the like from the Sixers fans on that possession was like, oh my God, here we go again, and it's just like you're not coming back from that.
No. All right, let's talk draft though. All right, because I loved this draft. It might be one of my favorite drafts, and I like the last two. But man, this one was fabulous. Down to getting the kid that we all talked about, Hunt from Houston Christian, that everybody put an asterisk next to. Go look at him. Everybody, because I talked to some coaches and NFL people, and they were like raving over the Eagles draft.
I think that from the working the board standpoint, this was Howie Roseman's best draft in terms of what he was able to get value-wise. And it all started with being patient in the first round at 22, seeing that those quarterbacks had gone a little bit earlier. You know, you're getting to like 6 picks left, and there's 6 guys that we would love to have. And it's in Howie's MO to trade up in the first round. And if he had done that, it might have been for Quinyon Mitchell. But to be patient there and get Quinyon Mitchell then allowed him to package up at the top of the second round, both second-round picks, get a third back, and go get Cooper DeJean, who I know was on their board as a first-round pick. And if the first round had gone in a slightly different direction, would have been in very serious consideration to be their pick in the first round. So that started the draft, addressing a short-term need and one of the more pressing long-term needs on the team. I thought was a great start and the key to the whole thing. You like in the secondary, you need somebody to start opposite Darius Slay, and frankly, you need somebody to replace Darius Slay next season. Like this is probably going to be Darius Slay's last year with the Eagles, and so to have Cooper DeJean, who can maybe do that on the outside, but in the short term can contribute in other ways because of his versatility, I thought that was really, really good process. I would quibble, like personally, I would have taken Terry and Arnold over Quinyon Mitchell, but these are like it's a coin flip, and I can understand how you would go in a different direction. Jalen Hunt is. Go ahead.
No, I was going to bring up the Arnold thing because it's funny. I've been asking a lot of people about that. Like, who did you have higher? And if I heard coin flip the whole time, like, you know, like I went to Spags and I were breaking it down because he loves, like, part of his job for the draft is to break down all those prospects.
Yeah, those are his guys.
And he was missing. Of course, he lost Snead, so it's a big deal for him. So we were talking about both those prospects. He said, listen, you know, I truthfully had him at a coin flip. You know, you want to go Bama just because of the competition. I get it. But this kid's a player, and he loved his loyalty, the fact that he stayed at Toledo, did not go into the portal. When, in fact, Saban said this too, that he was his number one target in the portal, and he never went into it. So, and
I mean, there's a chance he goes to Alabama, then Terry and Arnold doesn't even see the field as much last year, right? Because they had Kool-Aid McKinstry, and he wasn't going to lose his job. It's like Terry and Arnold is a little bit younger and a little bit slower. Quinyon Mitchell is a little bit older and a little bit faster, and you know doesn't have quite the man-to-man chops that you've seen. But you know he went to the Senior Bowl, proved that, answered that, aced that test. So it really is a coin flip. I would have leaned Terry and Arnold, but I don't fault them. And it's interesting that like we get to see that the Eagles had to declare their choice. They had both on the board, and there's this like possibility that if Terry and Arnold goes on to be an All-Pro, we're all going to be like, oh, like the Eagles could have had him, but I don't fault them for that pick.
No, I mean, I think you look at it, and that's like how you grade out the player. I mean, you know, you just look at it in that way. And truthfully, I mean, it's nice to have a corner that can put his nose in the run game, but that's not the prerequisite, right? Like that, again, that's the supermodel who can
I agree.
cook, you know.
That maybe Spags wants that because you know how much Spags loves guys who can tackle. But
Yes.
yes, for
But
this
he
defense,
loved him.
maybe
He loved Mitchell. He also loved DeJean. And he said, he goes, dude, I go, slot corner, can help out safety, the whole thing. I mean, Lord knows, you're always in nickel. You're always in nickel and dime. So, having a guy like DeJean is great with his versatility. And he said, I wouldn't even hesitate putting him on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, he has that athleticism to him. He is not a bad athlete. And so yeah, that is like the major question with him is can he do it on the outside? And people who love him think that he can do it. But it's nice to have a player whose baked in floor is that even if he doesn't reach that ceiling on the outside, he's going to be a useful player somewhere else.
So let's talk about Hunt.
Yeah.
No secret from a guy from Houston Baptist. We all kind of knew about him. Again, he was one of the visits. We all talked about him. You and Zach during the show talked about him several times. Baldi and I talked about him several times.
Like 13 hours.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. For those people who don't know about him, why don't you break him down?
Well, yeah. So he starts his college career. Doesn't have a lot of offers. He's like a no-star recruit out of Florida. He's just beginning a growth spurt, and he goes to Cornell to play safety. And he's there for a few years, and he continues to grow at Cornell. Enters the transfer portal, goes to Houston Christian, and is used as an edge guy and has like a pretty productive 2 seasons. Not like blow you out of the water sack wise, but like 6.5, 7 sacks, and gets on the radar. Now, if you look at just like the physical specifications, a guy with arms as long as he has, who like ran what he ran, it's a very small group. You talk about the like only so many people in the world like this. He fits that category. I mean, he is absolutely a project. There's no doubt about that. He's not a refined edge rusher, and it's not like he was coached by the world's best position coach at Houston Christian. It's going to take some time. But what is interesting for the Eagles is that timeline is actually kind of ideal because this year they don't necessarily need a guy in that rotation. You've got Nolan Smith and Bryce Huff and Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat. But Brandon Graham is probably playing his last year and Josh Sweat's contract is up. So next year you're going to need bodies. So if they can give him 1 year of development, maybe he contributes on special teams, can be a real part of the rotation next year. That would be ideal. And obviously I would expect that they're going to attack edge in the draft again next year. But from a believing the story of why this guy can get better, you can see it because he's new to this body type. He has not played this position for a long time. And in this defense, if you're going to be asking him to play in space, I made the comparison on our show about it's like the big man who grew up as a guard and hit his growth spurt. So he has these guard handles, right?
Yes.
This guy is used to playing in space because he was a safety, right? So if you're going to have him play in space, he's got that already in this body. It's the pass rushing part that he has to refine. And Howie Roseman talked about this in the pre-draft press conference. Part of the reason that you bring guys in is like, I'm not going to tell you what Jason Kelce did. I want you to watch what Jason Kelce did. And so, okay, Jalix Hunt, go watch how Brandon Graham attacks the game and the way that he approaches pass rushing. Go watch Josh Sweat, and maybe that will help aid his development.
Yeah, it's a great comp, a great analogy. The kid who gets the late growth spurt, who's got the athleticism and understands a handle, the whole thing, and is blessed with it. It's a great analogy. Will Shipley's interesting in that he's a Taysom Hill type, big, powerful, and just a good guy, just a piece for short yardage and some power.
So I actually think Shipley's is the opposite. He's like 5'11", 206. He's a smaller guy, and he is here to be like a weapon out of the backfield.
He was more. They used him in that power role. Like you needed 3rd and 1 because he's quick. They would use him to run the ball. Right.
And the selling point on him for the Eagles is that he can be like a 3rd down piece out of the backfield. Yeah. He's a good pass protector for a younger player. Had over 30 catches each of the past 2 seasons. This is probably the pick of all of them that I was a little bit hesitant about, just because
Yeah.
of like the running back value at this point of the draft. They had 3 fourth-round picks. They ended up trading 2 of them away. This is the only one they made. I thought this could have been a time to go offensive line earlier, potentially. But I get it. And certainly, like, they need a body there because Kenny Gainwell is in the last year of his rookie deal. You hope that Saquon's going to be on the field like 85% of the time, but just in case, you need a bit of something. One of the things that I look at for college running backs is their yards per carry versus the yards per carry of their teammates, right? So you're comparing apples to apples in the same offense. And that's one of the reasons I didn't love Will Shipley. He's like the only guy who wasn't better at all. It was like the exact same yards per carry, 5.2. Now maybe he was playing with better teammates. You can make that case, but he would not have been my pick here. But I get the story of what he brings to the offense in terms of a specific role.
Well, they used him. It was interesting because he's not a home run hitter, and he was again used more in those 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s. You're going to run the ball. They used him a lot in that role. So I agree. Listen, usually the way the running back value is, you can get a potential, a guy with a lot of upside in that spot, where I think you're saying that Shipley is limited, which I agree with. And
I wonder if there were, Bucky Irving went a couple picks ahead of them, the guy from Oregon, who sort of fills a similar role. Maybe that would have been a player. Vince's guy, Isaac Garendo, goes a few picks later, a little bit more explosive.
Yeah.
Braylon Allen from Wisconsin went a few picks later. Different type of player, but probably a better actual running back.
Yeah.
And then Audric Estime from Notre Dame, who I kind of liked, another different type of player. But in terms of value, it was just not my favorite.
Yeah, I that's a good case. I agree. Let's talk about Baby Axe Trotter Jr. in the 5th round. I mean, you got to love that.
Love it. I thought that was, value wise, probably their best pick, just in terms of like where guys went. And the concern before the draft that like, if you draft Jeremiah Trotter here, like, how's he going to handle those expectations? Is it going to be unfair from the fan base? The way that it worked out, the 5th round, they trade up for him. Nobody is realistically expecting him to come in and be his dad, right? But I see a path to like immediate playing time for Jeremiah Trotter. And you and I talked about this, like time, speed at linebacker, not the biggest deal to me, because if you see it quicker, you're going to get there quicker, right? You're going to make up for that. And I think that like he has a real chance because Nakobe Dean, I like Nakobe Dean, but he has to prove that he can stay healthy. Devin White is a player who has all the tools in the world, but was benched last year because he wasn't reliable. So there's a real opportunity, I think, for Jeremiah Trotter to not just make an impact on special teams, but to play on defense this year. And you saw the call with Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni and Jeffrey Lurie, especially being emotional about it. I think this is a great story, and I don't think it's just a story. I think it's a great fit for what they need because that's their weakest position depth-wise. I think Jeremiah Trotter has a real chance to come in and make a real impact.
I'm with you, man. I felt the same way. Obviously, we get the sentimental value of it and what Trot meant to this franchise. And, I lived it with him. We used to do a show, the whole thing. I remember Junior coming to our shows as a kid. I mean, it's amazing. But I'm with you. And he's young. And, again, he's only going to get better. And he's got great instincts. And that's kind of what excites me. I think you get a great value piece in the 5th round. And you said it earlier. That was a position of great need. They have not had depth. They have not had a lot of that position over the years.
Yeah, in terms of like profile, I love the profile. A young player who has 2 full years of starting experience at a big school has those instincts. Sign me up. I think it's maybe their best pick of day 3. Although I also love Dylan McMahon, who I don't know if we want to talk about, but that's my other
I do. Guy. So you got, by the way, both Keegan and McMahon, like you're going with good value. A lot of guards at that point could flourish. Keegan's from Michigan and McMahon's from NC State. Like I think you got good prospects there.
Yeah, McMahon is the guy I really like. Now he's probably just a center in the NFL. He's undersized, 6'3", 299. He played all three interior positions at NC State. Started as a guard, flipped both sides, and then was a full-time center last year. One thing you look at with offensive linemen that is like for whatever reason tends to be a great indicator of future skill is the short shuttle. It's what Jason Kelsey has like the record for, the short shuttle. And Dylan McMahon was one of the best in this class. So a guy who has position versatility, that he was trusted to read opposing defenses, has those athletic tools to be like a real people mover, and has those like quick twitch muscles in his body. Get him with Jeff Stoutland. I feel really good about that value with Dylan McMahon. He was one of my favorite day 3 guys. Trevor Keegan is the opposite type of player, like a big plotter, not necessarily the most fit, like athletically gifted guy, but more of a mauler. And
traditional Michigan guard, square head, big belly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny they did that at wide receiver too. They took 2 guys of completely opposite body types and completely different skill sets. That's what they did along the offensive line. Keegan is like, I think it's a fine bet. There were like 8 offensive linemen with similar grades. You wanted to take a guy who was a little bit bigger. You go with the pedigree, the guy who won a national championship and was a captain, right? And was smart enough to wear his Deshaun Jackson jersey on the Zoom call with Eagles reporters on Saturday. The wide receivers, Johnny Wilson's fun. I mean, a guy that big with arms that long.
6'6". He's got like a wingspan of a pterodactyl.
Yeah, exactly. We're a big dinosaur household now. My 6-year-old's all about dinosaurs. I'll throw Quetzalcoatlus at you. That's
wow. That's great dino knowledge right there. Because my son Anthony was a dino kid. Yeah. Still is. Wants to be a paleontologist. So
we got to get them together. They would talk. I'm telling you, Casey would talk his ear off on dinosaurs.
That's awesome. He in fact is going on a dig in Montana.
Really?
In June, yeah.
Oh, I'm just got to hear all about this. I'm going to want to see pictures and show Casey. He's going to love that.
Yeah. It's great.
So Johnny Wilson's fun. He was successful on the outside, which, when you see a guy this big who's a pass catcher, the obvious question is how quickly are we going to move him to tight end, make him a big slot, something like that. The Eagles want to try him on the outside. They think he can do it. We know that they were interested in him in the pre-draft process. They brought him in for a visit. And that's one of the interesting threads of the whole draft. Like they really gave away the answers to the test on a lot of this. Like most of these guys they brought in for pre-draft visits. I think everybody except for Keegan, Shipley, and McMahon. And even those guys, some of them, they signaled interest. So Wilson's fun. It's a good bet to make. You have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith locked up. You need somebody else to be the third guy. And so they've taken a couple shots now with Smith and Wilson and Devontae Parker and Paris Campbell, even Britton Covey. You hope that one of them is able to take that job and run with it. Aeneas Smith is again the opposite, shorter, more dynamic and quick, twitched with the ball in his hands. He didn't run like the fastest 40. I think it was like 4.4 something. So part of the reason that he goes in the 5th round, and he didn't have the greatest production at Texas A&M. People will tell you that offense was a mess, and you can't necessarily fault him for that. But he brings value on special teams. It's a shot to take for somebody who can just bring a little bit of playmaking with the ball in his hands.
I'll tell you, Bo, great stuff this weekend. You guys killed it. You covered this thing inside and out. I just want to thank you, man. It was great stuff. I loved it. Loved every second. Your insight is fantastic, brother.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Zach was all over it. He was killing it. He was breaking. Yeah. He was all over what they were going to do. He did an awesome job. And then the guys and girls in production were just like killing it all weekend. It was a pleasure to watch them work.
Thanks. It was awesome. Great work, man. Great work. We'll see you later on. You deserve a lot of rest.
Thanks.
Bo Wolf from the Eagles All PHLY show. They were fantastic. You got to watch that show. You got to listen to it. It's fantastic. This portion of the Anthony Gargano show presented by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Check out TrueMark.com or stop into your local branch to learn about the credit union difference. All right, it's that time to go grind. So let's grind it out with the brain.
Brain.
Brad the Brain Feinberg.
The Brain, there he is, brought to you by the Parks Sportsbook app. Check out the Bet Parks Sportsbook app and Parks Casino. It's fantastic. Brain, a extremely frustrating game yesterday with the Sixers and Knicks. One team wanted it more.
You could also have another sponsor. I think call it rant.com. I'm done. I can't stand excuses in life. It's probably my least favorite thing. Like, I'm in a business and I have clients. Yeah, I've won for 24 of the last 26 weeks, I think. If I have one losing day, the world is ending. But I don't even make excuses. I'm winning virtually every single day because at the end of the day, I know I'm only as good as my last day. And I don't want to hear excuses. If I lose, I own it. I feel horrible about it. The Sixers, to me, what this has become, it really is that saying, they are the definition of that saying. The definition of insanity, just keep doing the same thing and expecting it to change. It hasn't changed. I'm not saying.
My cousin and I had the same conversation about the old Joe Banner definition of insanity, expecting a different result. And, you know, I expected a different result going into this series.
I got to be honest. I just have zero tolerance for it anymore. And just that whole game yesterday, I'm going to be honest with you. That game, everything about it, from the New York fans to just New York wanting it more, that game upset me even more than game two, which I didn't think would be possible. Was it nearly as tough of a loss? No, of course not. Brunson was magnificent. But again, Anthony, I got to tell you something. Again, I'm trying. I'm very fair. I'm very objective. It's the reason I'm a successful sports gambler. Because if it wasn't fair and I wasn't objective, I'd get my ass kicked. Okay? Joel Embiid, say what you want to say. The guy, again, and I know we we had a healthy discussion before the series. There has to be a point, Anthony. There has to be a point where you say, either you raise your game or you don't. And maybe he's hurt. And again, I'm not a pro athlete.
He's not hurt. The issue is, and I look at yesterday. The issue is he's got no wind. He spent the last 6 minutes.
It's been like this since 1902.
Listen to me real quick. He spent the last 6 minutes, and you'll see, to go back and look at the possessions, 35 feet from the basket, tugging at his shorts. He wasn't involved. And so you're sitting here trying to run a set offense with your focal point tugging at his shorts while they're blitzing Maxey. So he's useless. Now, I think Nick Nurse made a grave mistake by trying to let him play the entire second half. It killed them. He's got a shallow gas tank. We've always talked about it. He's got a shallow gas tank. And he had no giddy up at all. You saw a guy on empty. And
this has been the same criticism. Let's be fair. This has been the same criticism
the
last 7 years. So at what point do people stop making excuses?
It's not excuses. It's not excuses. It is what it is. I mean, you're right. He had no gas. You saw it. I mean, you saw it before him. Now, here's the other issue. The other issue is you get nothing out of Tobias Harris again.
Well,
you are haunted by the ghost of Buddy Hield, who's too afraid to be on the floor. So
it's amazing.
You get nothing from your bench. No,
well, that's the difference in these teams. That is, look, again, I'm still going to stand by this. I think the Knicks suck. I do. They play hard. And you know what's funny? They're actually, I will give them this though. I guess they're proving something I didn't think could happen. I thought a limited team like this, okay, once the playoffs started against a more talented team, this Tom Thibodeau, we're going to outwork you mantra, when you just get against a more talented team, was just going to end the playoffs, which, by the way, in fairness to me, every single year with the Knicks, every single year with the Bulls, that's what happened. But they obviously are going to win this series. They're going to, in my opinion, blitz Indiana. I think we'll give a better showing than Philly. I have no doubt about that. But they will get there. And you know what? They'll probably even win 2 games against Boston, as crazy as that seems, because they really do care. And you know what? Again, if you switch the mindset of each team, you change that, whatever you want to. I just, again, you hear it in my voice. I don't want to hear the excuses anymore. To me, I don't know the answer.
Excuses. I mean, we all watched the game. You analyze what you saw, and what you saw was Josh Hart wants it more than Tobias Harris.
Yes,
right.
Yes, and that's. I'm glad you're saying.
Look at it. One of that last possessions where they get 3-second chances. Like, you just can't have that.
The Knicks. What about game 2 where they got like 26 straight offensive rebounds? And the Knicks are playing like their lives are on the line almost. The Sixers are playing like it's almost like a regular season game. I'm not saying they don't want. I always say something, Anthony, and I want everyone to listen to this very carefully. I say to people who try to gamble, I go, there's a difference between like winning and like wanting to win and doing what it takes to win. Some people just bet for action. They enjoy it. It's fun. But do they really bet to win? Do they know what it takes to actually be a winning sports gambler? Either they don't know or they don't put in the time, which is fine. But there's a big difference between saying you want to win and actually putting in what it takes, in my job, to be a winning gambler. Same thing with these NBA playoffs. It's no different. I'm sure everyone on the Sixers wants to win, okay? But actually doing what it takes in every aspect to get you to that point in winning, that's a gulf. That's a seismic difference that is massive. And until you have that mindset on understanding what it's going to take to win versus just saying you want to win, you're up Blanks Creek without a paddle. And I'm factually right on this. This is not an opinion. This is 2 + 2 = 4. I am right. Because I know from what I do and what I've seen from other people who try to sports bet, they'll say they may want to win, but they don't do what it takes to do it. 2 different things. And the Sixers don't do what it takes. You see it in my voice, the passion I have. It angers me. And again, I'm just done with the excuses, and it's never going to change until their mindset changes.
Yeah, I think there's a talent issue too. I mean, when you're relying on a 38-year-old Kyle Lowry to be your third best player, right? Tobias is a waste, right? I mean,
Anthony, what did you say about Embiid about his wind? What did you say about his wind? What did you say about it? You said you're right. It's a battery that if they
He's got
want
a
to
shallow gas tank is what I said. And
great, and that's you're factually right.
He can't play 44 minutes. Like he's not effective at it. Like saw it.
Maybe
like,
there's things he could do.
You can't have him tugging at his shorts 35 feet from the basket when you need to score a basket.
And again, he's an all-world player, Hall of Fame player, and I'm not saying he doesn't want to win. What I am saying is, if he really meant everything in the world to him, if this was like this was his life, this was everything, I got to get in better shape.
I get it. I can't argue with you.
That's all I'm going to say.
I get it. I can tell you he's 7'2" and 300 pounds, but it doesn't matter. You're right.
Yeah.
So, I feel you. What do you got today, my brother? And Brad'sBestBets.com. Nobody does it like Brad. Brad'sBestBets.com. What do you got today,
Anthony, we were, I think, 13-2 yesterday. Another great day. Again, keep telling people I now won, I think, 24 of 26 weeks. Anyway, listen, here's what we got for today. I'm going to give you a couple of baseball, Anthony. Max Fried, I like him over under 2.5 runs, 36-12 his last 48 starts. Best pitcher's park in baseball in Seattle. Give me Max Fried under 2.5 runs. I'm going to give you Garrett Crochet. Now, he's gotten roughed up his last couple starts, Anthony, but I still like this guy. I like over 14.5 outs. I do. I say he gets his 5 innings pitched against the Minnesota Twins. I think he gets there. I think 14.5 outs, a little too low. I'm going to give you a couple pizza bets you can make on the Park site right now. These are just pizza bets, but the numbers are good. You got to trust me. Mike Trout to hit a home run plus 440. That number should be around plus 340. Plus 440 is giving us an extra 100 basis points. And Pete Alonso plus 460 to hit a home run, Anthony. That number should be closer to plus 270. So that's a very nice value. NBA tonight. Trey Murphy over 14.5 points. The guy last 2 months, Anthony, averaging 18.5 points. Don't need my Michigan education to tell me that number's too low. Okay. Derek White over 3.5 assists, 28-7 last 35 games. This is a great one. LeBron James has gotten over 1.5 steals, Anthony, 2 straight games. Who cares? He's 34-11 to the under, the 45 before that. And we're taking a price. My favorite bet of the night. It's an incredible bet. Jalen Williams, under 5.5 rebounds, Anthony. He averages 4.3 rebounds a game. He's gone under this over 75% of the time. He went over his last game. Who cares? One game, the recency bias is ridiculous. Jalen Williams under 1.5 steals, 22-8, his last 30. Thank you very much. Austin Reeves averaging almost 6 assists a game. They made his over under 3.5 because he's gone under a couple of the games in this series. 3.5. If you want to adjust it to 4.5, I'll listen to you. 3.5, way too low. Austin Reeves, over.
I love it, man, with conviction. The brain. Great job, baby. Great job.
Appreciate
the brain. Checking in. All right, coming up, we will go to Baldi, and Baldi will break down the draft. But first, let me tell you about Rite Aid. Yes. Look, it's crazy, the weather. Like, it's going to shoot up today. It's going to be beautiful. Next couple of days, warm. What we see in the spring is that green stuff all over the car. Pollen everywhere. You know it because you wake up and you're sneezing and you're rubbing your eyes. One of my problems, and it affected my eyesight, was always bad eye allergies where I would rub my eyes and I want to scratch my eyeballs with a fork, right? Like, it was horrible. You go to your nearest Rite Aid, you talk to your Rite Aid pharmacist who's part of the neighborhood, and they're going to tell you that, hey, use these drops, okay? Use this medication, all right? This will be better for you because it's non-drowsy. Whatever it is, seek their counsel when it comes to combating allergies, whether it's nasal rinse. I mean, like, whatever this stuff is, it's a hard... People know if you're stuck with allergies, like, I got it, right? I've had it my whole life. It makes you miserable. Makes you tired, makes you miserable. You can't sleep, right? You're always sneezing. You hate being outside, even though you love it. Like, I'm at the ball field all weekend long with Massimo, sneezing my head off. So I gotta go to Rite Aid today. Rite Aid, your local neighborhood pharmacy. Talk to your neighborhood pharmacist. They're going to point you in the right direction. Check out whether it's you can schedule a vaccine appointment, whatever you need going on health-wise. RiteAid.com. RiteAid.com. All right.
That's right. Allergies suck. The Sixers suck as well. We all know that. But what doesn't suck, ladies and gentlemen, is our next sponsor. That's Olipop, ladies and gentlemen. They are the world's first functional soda with a classic soda taste, and the taste benefits plant-based fiber, prebiotics, and other botanical ingredients to support that gut health, ladies and gentlemen. And it's a new kind of soda with only 2 to 5 grams of sugar, 9 grams of fiber per can. And the best part about it, guys, they are available now in over 30,000 retailers, including their new launch at the great Wawa, our favorite, ladies and gentlemen. Some great flavors they have. Listen, guys, if you're a soda person, they pretty much have every soda in their Olipop options. But some of my favorites are that classic root beer and that strawberry vanilla. They are very tasty, and they taste pretty similar to the actual soda that you guys love. So what are you waiting for? Right now, you guys see it. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can see it at the bottom left. That promo code, PHLY20. You'll get 20% off your next Olipop order. This discount only applies to one-time orders, not to subscription orders. Olipop is sold online, drinkolipop.com or on Amazon. And like I mentioned, you can find them at any of those retailers. They're available at Wawa, Target, Sprouts, Wegmans, ShopRite, and of course, GoPuff here in the city. So thank you to our friends over at Olipop.
All right, buddy. There it is. You know what it is now?
I can't wait.
Oh, you can't wait for this breakdown right now.
Let's go.
All right. Enough for the basketball talk. We got Kyle Neubeck later on to talk some more Sixers. But now we got Baldi. And what this Eagles draft was, the whole draft, what a weekend it was in Detroit. It's Meat Locker time, brought to you by, oh man, Butcher Box. Let's go to Baldi, the one, the only.
Baldi, Baldi. Oh, let's talk some football. Ay, Baldi, Baldi. Oh, he likes meats and football. Oh, Baldi.
premonition. Let's start. The legend. We got him? Where's he at? I know Andrew's feverishly pressing some buttons to get our man Bald. There he is. We
Morning,
got
Cuz.
him. What do you say? Great job this weekend.
It was busy. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Just Detroit put on a big show, big turnout. Football is king. We got a bunch of new stars coming into the league. We'll see which ones develop, which ones help their team kind of make that climb, get over the hump. So a lot to talk about for sure.
Yeah. All right. So let's start off and go right down to business because I know you got a busy day. When last we talked Friday morning, we were in love with Kenyon Mitchell and what the Eagles did. And then they had a monster day trading up for Cooper DeJean. Let's talk about what the Eagles did. What a incredible! I thought it was a great draft. I loved it. Well, I'm dying to hear your thoughts.
Well, I mean, Howie did a lot of movement, in that second day. They had the 50 and 53rd pick. They got traded in order to get to DeJean. But, look, it's going to start with Quinyon Mitchell. It always does. And then it's going to be that debate, was the Terrion Arnold the best corner? Was Quinyon Mitchell the best corner? I mean, it's we don't know yet. Both are really incredible prospects. But then to go get Cooper DeJean, it kind of told you what we all saw last year, especially, starting with that San Francisco loss, that this team could not stop the ball from going over their head. And they could not play press man. They couldn't tackle. Well, they got two guys that can play, man coverage. Cooper DeJean's got a lot of different hats he can wear, but he's a great tackler. And some of the plays that we saw last year where, I mean, literally, you give up tackles in the secondary, you give up touchdowns. And only Washington gave up more touchdown passes than the Eagles did a year ago. So they really wanted to address their weakness. I don't know if James Bradbury's long for the Eagles at this point. We'll see what Darius Slay can do. But I feel like with those first two selections, it's hard to argue with bringing that level of talent into the organization.
Yeah, when you keep going further, everybody loved you brought him up. All right, you brought Hunt up. This was like 2 months ago. You brought him up. You're like, dude, you got to check this kid out from Houston Baptist, off the edge, converted safety, the whole thing. I remember you were the first one to tell me about him. Eagles subsequently bring him in for a visit, and then they take him right there. What did you think of that?
Look, I think he's got a long way to go, but Jalen Hunt's got talent. They've got the necessary. I mean, you're looking for certain measurables. You're looking for certain speed. You're looking, for certain things. So he's got very long arms. He's almost 6'4". He's over 250 pounds. They just traded away Hassan Reddick. We don't know how long. I mean, it looked like Josh Sweat was on the trading block at some point. We don't know what Nolan Smith is going to be. You better reinforce the front, and you better get him on the field and find a way to use him. He's a talented kid. He started off at Cornell, didn't play much at Cornell, transferred down to Houston. It was Houston Baptist, I think, at the time, became Houston Christian. Look, at that level, he was a dominant player. That's what you want to be able to do. If you're going to get drafted as high as he did, which was the 94th pick in the third round, you better have some dominant tape. And he did. Now he's got to take it. And the good thing is you go out there to practice and you're working against Lane, you're working against Mailata. I mean, you're working against some elite, players at that position. He'll get tested in practice right away.
Sounds like, do you think it was too early, or do you think?
No, I mean, he was. The reason why I started studying him, honestly, was a couple different. I would text a variety of GMs, when I was doing my drafts process, and I would say, give me 5 guys that nobody's talking about that are day 2 prospects or day 3 that I should go look at. And, Jalix was a guy that 2 different guys brought up. You got to take a look at him, Baldi. Nobody's talking about him, small school, but, talent. So, that's when I started watching him, and I started seeing the traits that you need to win off the edge. And so I think he's a worker. I think he plays hard. I mean, a lot of the things that you want, to kind of begin the process with, he had.
So getting our buddy, his son, the baby axe, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., in the 5th round. Like, you can't argue with that value. I mean, he's still young, right? He's a junior, right? Like, when you look at him, they desperately needed some depth there. And the fact that you get him in the 5th round, I mean, I think that there's value there.
We talked about it. Is this a good place for him? Well, I mean, he's going to get, he's going to get a warm reception. I mean, people are going to like it. Now, he's got to play. Now, when you watch him the last 2 years at Clemson, I mean, Trot, he filled up the stat sheet. I mean, you name it. Sacks, forced fumbles, tackle for losses. I mean, he is fast to the football. He reads and diagnoses things very, very quickly. So, he's not the biggest guy. He's not, 230 pounds. He's 6 feet. But, it's kind of like what you're getting with your will linebacker these days.
Yeah.
They're either pumped up safeties or they're 230-pound linebackers. That's kind of what you're getting. Because at some point in this business, one guy's got to, if you're in man coverage, one guy's got to cover the tight end, one guy's got to cover the back. So if you can't do those things, you can't stay on the field. And the Eagles had a hard time last year being able to do that with the variety of different linebackers that they put out there.
So I don't know what you did. The rest of the draft, well, the Shipley pick was a little odd, right? Like you go there, and Naismith's interesting.
He's a 3rd down back. He caught 85 passes there, at Clemson. He's a kick returner. I mean, he could do a lot of different things. So, I don't know what his role is right now. He's a 3-year player there at Clemson. He didn't start a lot of games. Started 14 games, but he was a role player.
Yeah, he was like Taysom Hill light.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't let him throw the football. I mean, I don't know.
No, you know what I'm saying? Like in that 3rd down specialist kind of thing.
He's a specialist, is what he is. And look, Anaya Smith, he's a slot receiver. He's probably going to compete with Britton Covey for that 5th or 6th wide receiver position. He can certainly return kicks. He's a returner. He's a receiver. He's a slot. He's very, very quick. He's got great quicks. I don't think he's got elite speed, but his quickness is off the charts.
So ultimately, how would you position what they did? I mean, do you love it? Do you like it? Like, where are you at with the?
I still think we should talk about Trevor Keegan. They need a swing guy inside. He was a starter at Michigan. He's very well coached. Won a lot of football games there. So you give Keegan to Stout. And look, he's got everything you want. He
reminds me of you,
huh?
He reminds me of you.
Look, I don't know about that, but I mean, he's a lot of these guys. This is an unusual draft because. Like Keegan's a 5-year player. I mean, he was the old school. You bring him in, you redshirt him, you put him in the weight room, you let him pump himself up, get big, then you start working him on the field. That's how, and a lot of these guys were COVID kids, didn't play a year. So a lot of these guys are 23, 24 years old, So Trevor Keegan, he's got all of that. But he had 37 starts for an elite program. There's a lot to work with. And then
he's a captain.
One guy I'm kind of looking forward to because I don't know if he can make this team or not is Johnny Wilson. I mean, is this Harold Carmichael? What is this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, he's 6'7".
6'6", yeah.
Yes, he's 6'6". He's over 6'6", but he's 230 pounds. I don't think he's got the best hands. I really don't. Like I just see. Like I don't think he's got stone hands, but I don't think he's got the best hands. Then you got a guy from basically a small school and Dylan McMahon who can swing guard center. Do I love the draft? I like it. I don't know that I love it. They got 2 positions of need. I think they can step on the field. I thought this is a tough roster to find starters because of, what they have done with locking guys up, on the offensive line, along the defensive front, the young talent they have there. I'm not in love with it like I'm in love with the Steelers draft, but the Eagles are a better roster than the Steelers. So if they can get Quinion and Cooper on the field like day one in whatever roles, and they get 2 starters to shore that up, and some of these young kids they've been drafting on the defensive front, including Hunt, can get out there and make a difference, then this should be a good football team.
So you're perfect to answer this question, especially with your relationship with the Jets and how close you are there. Mekhi Becton, who obviously injuries and not being on the field really killed him there. When he played, I mean, good player. Like, what'd you think of the Eagles signing Becton?
So one of the guys that works with the Eagles hit me up about Becton last night. And I said, they maybe Jason Peters in his prime has more power than Mekhi Becton. Like, I mean, Malida doesn't, Dickerson doesn't. The guy is an incredibly powerful player. His rookie year, he was off the charts good. He had 2 really injured years. And then last year, he really couldn't stay on the field. But he had a couple games, though, like against the Chargers, where he was pretty outstanding. It's just an if, because if he really wants to play, if he really wants to work to keep his weight down, because it can balloon, if he really wants to work to get in shape, it's an unbelievable signing. If all those things happen. The Jets ran out of patience because they need him. They still need him. They ran out of patience with Mekhi, and that can happen for sure. He tested their patience. Like that, he came out of the draft that had Andrew Thomas, Tristan Wirfs, and Jedrick Wills, and he was the 3rd tackle taken. Wirfs has been the best. Andrew Thomas, when healthy, is right there. And the Jets honestly thought they got the best tackle. And the rookie year with those 4, he was the best. He just could, you just wonder how much he loves it, the maturity level. But he's been humble, and so he's probably getting some kind of a minimum with some sort of bonus. If he wants to play and you get, you come to Stout U, there's no better place to come in the league.
Yeah, I thought it was a great bet. I know how much you liked his potential, and we had talked about him many times in the past, and I was like, wow, that's a Howie let me go bet on the upside, and it's a low risk wager.
No, bet on the upside. I nicknamed him Highway 77 because that was his number in New York, and like literally he just paved the way. It was a highway. He was unbelievable. Like he moves bodies like nobody else. You watch him that rookie year against Nick Bosa. I don't care who it was. Last year against Joey Bosa, against Khalil Mack. I mean, he was dominant. You just didn't see it never became consistent. He couldn't stay healthy. And you just question whether he had the toughness needed to play through injuries and play through discomfort the way you got to be able to do at the pro level.
Baldi with us. This portion of the program brought to you by the Bet Park Sportsbook app. All right, to sit down with the man. So let's go globally. I got a bunch of questions for you. So if I say Baldi, give me your 3 favorite drafts. Which teams had Baldi's 3 favorite drafts?
Well, Pittsburgh, I thought crushed it.
Yeah.
I thought Pittsburgh, like I'll just go through the order right here.
Yeah.
But I thought Pittsburgh, first of all, they started last year. This is Andy Weidel, Andy is, he goes back to Baltimore, winning a championship, was here in Philly when you won a Super Bowl. Like he wants to build the front. So last year they signed Isaac Seumalo in free agency. He played every snap at left guard for him. They drafted Broderick Jones. He looks like an elite prospect, played really well. They drafted Darnell Washington, the biggest tight end I've seen. All right. Now this year they go get Troy Fontano, from Washington. And then right behind it, they got Zach Frazier. They've got, and I think they've hit on all these guys. This should be a phenomenal offensive line. It really should. I mean, I wanted the Eagles to draft Fontano. I really did. I thought you could have plugged him and played him at right guard and next to Lane Johnson, and you probably get a Pro Bowl guard. I thought he was just that good. They got him with the 20th pick. Eagles, obviously, were set on corner, and that's what they did. But, they could have traded up and gotten Fontano. And then when I saw Zach Frazier play, I texted a general manager saying, can he be a day one starter at center? And they said, he'll be our starter. If we draft him, he'll be our starting center. The kid's a 4-time state wrestling champ, 4.0 grade, student, like 3-year starter at West Virginia. Then they got Roman Wilson, like he reminds me of Hines Ward. I mean, honestly, like he's that type of player. And then Peyton Wilson was the best, bar none, the best off the ball inside linebacker in this draft. He had medical problems with ACLs and shoulders. If he stays healthy, like Steelers know something about drafting linebackers and playing linebackers. I thought the whole thing, Mason McCormick, South Dakota State, was a warrior at offensive guard. I thought they crushed the draft.
Yeah, yeah. And Andy is really sharp. Andy Weidel is really sharp, and building their front, becoming, when you build their offensive front, their defensive front, the way he's done it, like we know that's the recipe for success. They got skilled people. If they just get quarterback play, they're going to be good.
This could be the best offense line Russell Wilson's ever played behind.
Yeah.
And so if he's going to have success, and I've seen Russell have instant success when DK Metcalf was a rookie, Tyler Lockett was a rookie.
Yeah.
I think Roman Wilson, honestly, is a lot like Tyler Lockett. Like that would be my comp to him. So
Wow.
I just think like if Russell's going to be good, if he's going to play at a high level, like he's got the wall in front of him to do it.
All right, number 2. Who would you say Baldi's second favorite draft is?
Well, I thought Washington was really good.
Yeah.
If you look at the Commanders, they got the quarterback, obviously. Okay, so I think the kid can elevate the program. But I thought they got the best defensive tackle in Johnny Newton in the draft. He would have been drafted much higher. He had a Jones fracture in his foot all year. He had it repaired. He couldn't test in the offseason. They got the best nickel corner in the draft in San Ristel from Michigan. He's a natural slot defender. Mine's, you got maybe the best all-around tight end in Ben Sinnott. Look, I know what, I know what Georgia's tight end is, Brock Bowers. But this guy is a really good player. If this Brandon Coleman could go in there and play left tackle for him, they might have 5 day one starters on that roster. Yeah. So I think that this is a team that, you got to, first of all, they scored 31 points in each game against the Eagles last year.
Yeah.
The first time, week 4, they took them into overtime and they got beat. This is going to be a much better team, much better coached, much better stable organization. They got the pieces in place to make a big jump this year.
And your third favorite draft in the Baldi 1, 2, 3.
I like the Rams. They got Jared Verse.
They do it every year.
Well, they haven't had a first-round pick in 8 years. So they get Jared. They traded up and get Braden Fisk. Braden Fisk is just an active, disruptive. He's going to be one of those guys that just gets underneath your skin. He's pushing at the end of every play. He plays again. They got Blake Corum at running back. They've got 2 running backs now that they can behind an offensive line that they rebuilt last year. Cameron Kitchens might have been the best safety in the draft out of Miami. I just felt like Les Snead did a great job in Los Angeles. Nobody thought they could be 10-7, get to the playoffs last year. They did. They took Detroit to the brink. This is a good football team right now.
No, and every year I don't know how they do it. Puka, Kyron Williams, they get amazing value late.
Puka and Cameron were both 5th-round draft picks.
Yeah.
They got a 2nd-round pick that played every snap at left guard for them last year. They've never had a 1st-round pick on their offensive line, never under Sean McVay. But they still put good lines together. They do whatever they have to do. Fire the offensive line coach. Free agency, the draft. They put together a good line last year.
All right. If I said Baldi's least favorite draft, which team has that dishonor?
Well, you have to wonder what the Cowboys are doing. I don't have any problem with Tyler Guyton or Cooper Beebe. I thought Guyton, you go back and watch him, a bowl game against Jared Verse, he dominated him. He's got unlimited potential. He's got to learn. He's got to get stronger, for sure. If you're going to play left tackle in this league, he's got to get stronger, and he's got to finish his blocks. So you got to coach him up. But there's talent there. And then Cooper Beebe, I thought he was the best guard in the draft. But they don't really need a guard. They need a center. So I don't know if they're going to play Cooper Beebe. I imagine they're going to move him to center. I just never saw him play center. So I don't know if he can or not. So that's a question mark. I don't know how they didn't draft a running back. I don't know how they didn't do it. They got Rico Dowdle and they've got Deuce Vaughn. That's on the roster right now. And this was a good draft in the middle rounds to go get running backs. They didn't get one. They didn't get a receiver. They needed another receiver. So I don't know. Like, I had a lot of questions about that draft.
We might as well finish with the Giants. What do you think of what they did? And I still go to the beginning. I think the biggest mistake was you have a chance to get your quarterback, and you go with Neighbors, who I love, but if you don't have anybody throw it to him, what's the point? Well,
Daniel Jones has missed 23 games in the last 5 years. All right, he's had 3 major injuries. So you just wonder, coming back from an ACL tear, is he going to be the same athlete? Is he going to be able to run the same? Can he really throw it when you have to throw it? Now, Malik Neighbors will help, but he's had a hard time staying on the field. Did the offense line truly get fixed? Like, this is an organization that, everybody's kind of just scratching their head. They had a chance to go maybe upgrade the quarterback position. Maybe had to give up, the chance to get Malik Neighbors, which you did. But they didn't do it. Now, they probably tried to go get Drake May. I'm sure that they made efforts with New England, to trade up there. But the Patriots were set on drafting Drake May. They weren't really listening to a lot of offers. And so, if they didn't love J.J. McCarthy, who was there, they didn't love Michael Penix Jr., who was there, and they'd rather have Daniel Jones, okay. But I see them having a hard time competing right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, a couple fun ones real quick. Give me your favorite your favorite bust out pick. Who's going to be a chance to be a star?
Well, I think Indianapolis, drafted the first defensive player. 14 straight offensive players. We knew the draft was deep in quarterbacks, offensive linemen, and wide receivers. And that's who went in the first 14 picks. But the first defensive player was Laiatu Latu. He was my favorite defensive player in the draft, and Indianapolis got him. And he's going to play next to DeForest Buckner and Kwity Paye and Grover Stewart. Like, they got a chance. They got a chance to be really good up front. He has a chance to be the defensive player of the year. He reminded me, honestly, I'm not overstating this. It's not hyperbole. He reminded me a lot of T.J. Watt coming out of the draft. And kind of a mix of Max Crosby. Like, that level of ability to just bend, defeat blocks before they happen, play a variety of positions. Like, he's a fantastic prospect. I thought Indianapolis got a great player.
Baldi's favorite sleeper, a later round pick that really has a chance.
Well, I thought the Cardinals had a very good draft. I really did. I think Monty Ossenfort's doing a really good job. I think they had 12 picks, but this Demerson Taylor, they got him a safety in the fourth round. Out of Texas Tech. He had 10 career interceptions. Like, they have a good safety with Budda Baker right there and Jalen Thompson. They have 2 good safeties, really good safeties. But this Taylor Demerson, I think this guy is going to be a great player, man. Like, I don't know if he's Earl Thomas great, but he has a chance to be a really good player. So hats off to him.
That's pretty good. All right, and then finally, the one regret, Baldi's biggest regret, like, which team will regret passing up what player?
Well, every team, let's say Buffalo, okay? Buffalo traded back from 28. They traded back to the first pick in the first round. And there was Xavier Worthy. Here's Texas. not just the fastest player in the draft, okay? Speed is one thing. The guy started every game 3 years in a row for Texas. Like, he didn't take any days off. Like some of these guys that are that fast, they have a hard time staying healthy. Like, this is a really good player. And you could say Keon Coleman, that's the guy that maybe Josh Allen wanted. Like, I think teams that passed, there's Xavier Worthy right there for anybody in a wide receiver draft. Who knows if he becomes the best of all of them? But speed kills, and it changes the game. This is an offensive game right now. I would say that Buffalo might have regrets.
Yeah, that's a great pick. Great answer. Always great stuff. So the draft now behind us. Where's Baldi's? Where is his eyes headed? Like, I know you got you're set for some big adventure.
Yeah, I know. I did. I had trips planned, but then I tore my tricep, so I got to get this surgery on Friday. So I'm going to be laid up for a little while. So I got to see like just how rehab is going to go and that kind of thing. But yeah,
You were going
these
to
things
go
happen.
climb that mountain. Oh no!
Yeah, mountains and Bali and Belize and some of these trips I had planned are on the back burner. I got to see just how long this rehab is going to be.
Oh no! You're going to be laid up here in Florida.
I don't know yet. I don't know. I'm getting surgery in New Jersey on Friday morning, and we'll just see how it goes.
All right.
See
Well,
what-
listen, you need something, you let me know. All right. I'll bring you over some butcher box. I'll grill some steaks for you.
You might have
All
to
right?
cook it for me too, cuz. All right.
Yeah. I
I
got
don't know if
you.
I'm going to be able to put it on the grill or not yet.
Yeah, I got you. I got you, brother. All right. We love you, man. All right. And we'll talk to you later in the week. Thanks, pal.
We'll visit soon. Okay. You got it, cuz. Thank you.
Here he is, the great Baldi. Fun stuff, man. Big draft is the great. I love the draft, JP.
It's fun.
It is. It's just, it's geek out time. It's the best.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about a couple things. First, you heard from the big brain. He was animated today. He's a Sixer man. So he felt he was scorned, even though he'll tell you he was what did he say, 13-2?
13-2 last night.
13-2?
Yeah, 13-2.
Nobody's doing this in the history of the country, of the world, the free world. He is, it's funny. He's right. Like, he does all his stuff that he plays. Like, who's looking at steals but the big brain? But that's how you win. You don't win picking games, right? He wins picking steals and blocks and props. But here's the beauty. Every play selection that he gives you, you can find on the Bet Park Sportsbook app. Yes. All that stuff he talks about. All the props he gave you. We have a litany of them. We'll tweet them out later today. But we have a litany of his plays, his selections. You can find it on the Bet Park Sportsbook app. So, listen, the Bet Park Sportsbook Casino app is so much fun. Download it to your phone. In fact, you make a winning $10 sports bet, you get $125 in sportsbook bonus bets. NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, baseball, all right there. It's also a big weekend for the Parks Casino and the racetrack, man. It's Derby Day, the Kentucky Derby, all weekend long. Big celebrations going on. You got to check out Parks Casino, man. It's unbelievable. Ben Salem, all the stuff. They have great food, great comedy acts, and musical acts. So all the entertainment you want, all the food you want, and all the fun is right there at Parks Casino, Street Road, Ben Salem. And the Bet Park Sportsbook app. You got to be 21 or older. Please gamble responsible. You or someone you know has a gambling problem wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, let's talk about True Fan Travel. We're all geeked up, right, for the birds and what this roster has done and how amazing. I mean, it's just, we're all excited. Well, take it on the road, friends. Take it on the road with your friends with True Fan Travel. That's right. True Fan Travel used to be Philly Sports Trips. That's Vince and Bob. All right. Those guys know how to run a trip. They know how to make it fun. I've been on several with them. I love them. All right. Now they've expanded. They're all over the place. And they got great trips that you're going to fall in love with. You want to go to New Orleans with the birds, right? You want to go back to Tampa and see the birds with a fun time. Like, the trips are amazing. It's a great away schedule. We'll find out where that fits later on in May when the schedule release happens. But this is the time to do it. You want to go to Brazil? They got a Brazil trip. It's fantastic. So it's all set up for you guys, whatever it is, soccer trips. Some of the Euro trips are amazing. You got to check it out. There's nothing like traveling with your brethren, seeing the world and seeing events with your own Philadelphia sports fans. True Fan Travel. Go to truefantravel.com to learn more and find out your next adventure. Now, let's get back to the misadventures of the Sixers and what happened yesterday in what looked to be Madison Square Garden South. Oh, talk about a heartbreaker. Let us go to one of the guys I love. He does such a great job for the All Sixers show. Devon, Derek, and of course that man right here, Kyle Neubeck. Kyle, oh my God, it was horrible yesterday.
I see you wore a black shirt for the funeral we're all
I
having
did.
for the Sixers season today, so it feels very appropriate.
Dude, I mean, can you make some sense? What, and you'll appreciate this as a Philadelphian. You understand this town, right? The one thing you can't do is get beat on heart. You can't have a team, and I don't mean Josh Hart. You can't get out-hearted.
And I think what really stings about that fourth quarter with all the offensive rebounds is that was a small ball lineup for New York. That was not like Mitchell Robinson or Hartenstein. That was Deuce McBride and Jalen Brunson in the backcourt. It's Precious Achua, who he's an undersized center. It is Josh Hart, who he's changed this series in so many ways. But yeah, like I think what really stings if you're a Philadelphian about this Knicks team is that's the sort of team that I think this city would really rally behind, right?
Duh.
They're tough. They
Yeah,
play
it's the
defense.
2001 Sixers all over again.
And Brunson is sort of that AI-ish guard at the head of the snake who, look, frankly, he got carried the first two games of this series and looked like his role players are going to have to win it for him. Sixers had a great game plan against him, but all credit to him. The series turns to Philadelphia. He's obviously comfortable in the Wells Fargo Center where he played so many games while he was at Nova, and he has now transformed back into the Jalen Brunson that we all know. So, you give full credit to the Knicks, but it's hard to swallow the errors, the rebounding, the turnovers, all the stuff that we're seeing from the Sixers that have allowed New York to claw their way to a 3-1 lead.
16 points in the fourth quarter. 16 points. So there's a couple things. One, Embiid was completely out of gas. I got to ask you, why didn't Nick Nurse can't play him the entire second half and expect anything other than him tugging at his shorts 35 feet from the basket during key possessions to end the game?
Well, and the worst part is, even as tired as he was basically the only guy making plays on defense too, right? Like he made 3 or 4 plays to force turnovers, block shots, whatever.
Yeah.
The rest of these guys are all just getting pantsed by Brunson or somebody else throughout that whole time. But I 100% agree with you, right? Like this season in so many ways was, I don't want to call it a gap year, but it was sort of a pause year where they're saying, hey, look, we're keeping our picks, we're keeping our assets, we're going to load up for free agency and potential trades and what have you. And look, we have this team of role players around Joel. We're going to see what happens. Well, you get to the playoffs, and the head coach clearly has no trust in the role players that are supposed to be the spine around Joel, right? So when we can all see, we all know Joel's hurt. We all know he's dealing with the knee. We all know he's dealing with the face. And we've watched Joel's entire career. He has never played an entire second half of a game. Even when he's played major minutes, it's been, all right, you get 2 minutes of rest here, and then we got to bring you back in. They have no confidence that they can do anything without him on the floor. And when that's the case for a guy who's at, I don't know, let's say 70, 75%, it's not to say that he is not to blame for what's happened, right? He's the star player. He's responsible for the team lives and dies with him. But to not be able to buy him 2, 3, whatever minutes of rest for him, it just seems impossible that we're still at this point, because this is the same conversation we were having 5 years ago against Toronto when it was Boban and Greg Monroe and whoever it was. It just, and to your point about the offense, the 16 points in the fourth quarter, that to me is where the game was lost. Like the rebounding was terrible. If you go back and watch that fourth quarter, and I would not advise anybody in Philadelphia
the
to do so and drive yourself crazy.
Were tragically bad, their possessions.
Just like Tyrese Maxey, deer in the headlights. Joel missing every shot that he took. They're double and triple teaming him in the post on certain possessions. And I think the fatigue factor, if you could see it on offense, is that they weren't running pick and rolls. It was either you're throwing the ball to Joel in the post, or he's a static target, and that invites all the pressure that New York can throw at him, or he's standing in the corner and he's basically just serving as a well-paid decoy. So I thought the offense was just abysmal in that fourth quarter, and some of it is the fatigue, some of it was just a complete lack of execution from these guys.
Yeah, I was surprised how bad it looked horrible. So where does Nick Nurse go? Like, here's the issue. Like, Oubre stepped up. All right, Oubre played well. Kyle Lowry, there's so much he can do at 38 years old. Again, the Tobias Harris issue reared itself. 10 points, 8 boards, and just a ghostly performance. Just, again, coming up small, not rebounding the way he should. He just kills you.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to just throw in, like, if you wanted to put a new player in this series at this point, like, let's say they wanted to get KJ Martin or Ricky Council and throw some athleticism at the Knicks, where that's been the big separator between these two teams. You're going to throw one of these guys into a series having not played a minute in the fifth game and a do or die on the road at Madison Square Garden. Like, I feel like if that was the case, if you thought that's what you needed to pull that trigger somewhere earlier in the series, right? Like, yeah. I think that ship has probably sailed. So a lot of this to me comes down to the offensive process. Like, you can't just let the offense devolve into, hey, Joel, go figure something out. Go do something. Hey, Tyrese, you got to beat somebody off the dribble. Like, they need to be stars for them to win, but there also needs to be like actual offense being run at the end of games. It's where I would start. And then on top of that, Brunson has clearly found his shooting boots, right? Last 2 games, he's been very good. I mean, game 4 is probably the best game anyone's had in the series. Him and Joel with the 50 ball are neck and neck, I guess. You're going to have to trap him more. You're going to have to double him more. You're going to have to get the ball out of his hands and make this a role player game. If Josh Hart hits a bunch of threes again, if Deuce McBride hits a bunch of threes, he's been very good in this series, I think you have to live with it, because you can't go down with Jalen Brunson just walking possessions down, playing one-on-one basketball. He's too good to allow him to do that.
It's interesting because I vacillated on it, because at some point I said, let Brunson get his and just take away everybody else, and it worked. In game 3, it felt like that's, and it should. Truthfully, it should have worked yesterday. Like, if you have you scored 36 points in the second half. Like, if you have any kind of offensive flow, they win that game. And Jalen Brunson, God bless his heart, I'd rather him score 47. It's the same thing with Iverson back in the day. They were like, look, we'll let Iverson spend himself and he can go get 50, but we'll be able to play the role players straight up and take them out of the game. And those guys are energy players, right? Ultimately, it was the Sixers offense that failed them, I thought.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing. If you want to point the finger at Joel for anything, I think the fourth quarter, he left it all out there, had nothing left. Where this game was lost, to me, was in the third quarter. They go up double digits. New York's still struggling to score.
Yeah.
They're mostly being kept off the glass. And Joel had 3 awful turnovers. Like one bad miscommunication with Tyrese on the sideline, 2 passes to Kelly Oubre on cuts that were just wild passes, missed the target, off his hands, whatever. And that's a stretch of the game. You could have taken this lead from 10 points to maybe 15, 20 points. And then you're going into the fourth quarter with a sizable lead. And we're not having a debate about, hey, do you need to play Joel? Can you trust Paul Reed? Can you trust these guys to not get absolutely killed? And so a lot of people focus on what didn't Joel do in the fourth quarter? What didn't the team do in the fourth quarter? You have to value every possession in a playoff game every quarter. You can't go through 3 to 4 minute stretches at a time where you're in la-la land and you're just like making basic execution errors and you're giving the ball to a team that is turning one possession into 3 or 4 shots basically every time. Like, it just cannot happen. And it was especially shocking to me because to open that game, Joel's passing was great. They had a lot of design looks to use him as a passer, use their cutters, use
Yeah, he had five
their
dimes in the
athletes.
first quarter.
Right. So he's moving the ball, he's seeing the floor well, and as you get deeper into the game, just careless stuff with the basketball. That's where I think this game turned. And look, credit to Brunson because he carried them in that quarter, but Joel just wasn't good enough then, and that had a huge impact on the game.
Yeah, which I actually think at that point he shouldn't have been on the floor. Like I would have been resting him at that point. He had rested him in game 3 and brought him back, let him play the whole fourth quarter, which I think is the rhythm for him. If you get him significant rest in the third quarter, at least at the 5.5-minute mark, 5-minute mark, and then you get him some rest. Because he just had nothing. Now, is Heald completely just freaked and has no confidence? I mean, the last time we saw him, it was just bad. So Nurse is locking him to the bench?
Yeah, I just think at this point he's chosen Campaign over him because Campaign has plenty of issues. I think certainly defensively is where you go first, but whatever you want to say about him, Campaign has no fear of this moment. I mean, it's 2 big shots in the fourth quarter when it looked like the game was maybe getting away from them a little bit. And I think for role players, the mentality you come in with is as important as absolutely anything in a playoff series because the ball can't swing to Buddy Hield, Campaign, whoever it is, and you can't turtle up, right? Like that's the one thing you cannot accept because you know it as well as I do. In these tightly contested defensive series, you're not always going to get a great shot. Sometimes the best shot you're going to get is an okay look. And I think Buddy, having not played in the playoffs before, he's in his 30s. This is his first ever postseason series. He doesn't seem to understand that the quality looks are much lower quality in this type of format. And so he has not adjusted to how tight, how physical this series is. I can't imagine after being benched that Nick is pulling him out for a do or die up in New York.
So, and that's my question, Kyle. And Kyle Neubeck, who's done such a great job, our All Sixers show with Devon Givens, Derek Bodner. What do you got for Game 5? Like, we know that we could play around with the whole thing. Like I did it in my head. You do the whole, hey, you go, you play house money, you win in New York. Now you come back and, oh, it's home court. Oh, great. Then it's Game 7. Like you can play that game. But in reality, how deep does this team have it in them, in their DNA, to suck it up and actually come up big and forget about 3 straight? Can they win in Game 5 tomorrow night?
I do think so, only because, like, if you just look at the series, it's a series that's essentially been decided by 4 points, right? Like the margins in this series are so small. Now, you would still say New York is more likely to win, right? Because they have done a better job at all these things we're talking about, at the margin plays, the hustle plays, the rebounds, the lack of turnovers when it counts in the fourth quarter. So you would still say the Knicks are favored. Can the Sixers win, though? Of course. Like, I still think Joel and Tyrese, for the duration of the series, have been very good. They didn't come through for them down the stretch in Game 4. But I don't think it's not like when they've played Boston, right? Where I think they go to Boston and those guys are just spooked across the board. They've lost so many times to the Celtics over the years that it sets in your head. I think they've had plenty of success at Madison Square Garden and in New York. And I think, frankly, if not for some officiating shenanigans at the end of Game 2, the series is tied 2-2. So I don't think they're going up there prepared for an execution. But I think if they play the way they did at the end of Game 4, it doesn't really matter. That we're all just playing out the string here.
Can they win without Embiid scoring 40 and Maxey scoring 30?
Probably not. And I think that's the big lesson of this series, right? Like I wrote in the story at PHLY today, Anthony, that OG Anunoby was the swing player for that game yesterday, right?
Yeah, he was.
And he represents the difference in approach from these two teams during this season. The Knicks said, we have our star, we've got assets, we got flexibility. We're pushing some chips in. We want to go get a real guy, a guy who can play. I think he played almost 47 minutes yesterday, defended all 5 positions, including defending Joel Embiid. I think he had like 14, 16, something like that, rebounds yesterday. Huge difference maker in that game. The Sixers' biggest acquisition at the deadline is the guy we just talked about who cannot get on the floor. And so, look, like the Knicks role players have just been better. They are a better equipped team across the board. And so the Sixers have 2 options. Either Joel and Tyrese have star level performances and they have a chance to win, or they're not winning games in this series. That's been made clear by the first 4 games. So either Embiid and Maxey have big ones in game 5, or you and I will be sitting here later this week talking about a season that was and where it all went wrong.
Oh, man. All right, brother. Keep up the great work. All right, we love you, buddy. Thank you.
Good to see you. See you,
There he
cuz.
is. Kyle Newbeck. All right, we'll come back and the Cuz's Clubhouse. We'll talk to JP. We'll talk to VG, Violations Greg, and it'll be the Clubhouse and get their opinion. I want to hear about your chats, what you guys are talking about. That's all coming up next on the Anthony Gargano Show right here. All City Network, all PHLY. Welcome back. Great. This was exactly what it was, I think. The good, the Phillies. The very good, the Eagles draft. And the very frustrating, Sixers and Knicks. Oof. All right, joining us, John Zapata, JP, my cohort, other cohort, Violations, Greg Caputo, VG. Get the shorts on today.
Yeah, got them legs out.
Phil and Phyllis.
Hey, look at that.
Need some color, cuz.
It's not even leg day.
He goes, You guys are wearing the Twins. You're working with the Twins over
A lot
there.
of neck showing today. It should have been a neck warning on this show at the beginning of the
You're an
broadcast.
anti-neck guy.
Yeah,
You got a bad neck. All right?
Yeah.
And
Car
so
accident broke my neck. So I
So
got a
you
bad
hate
neck.
the neck.
I love
It's
the
your
neck.
least favorite body part.
Yeah. You guys can groom it back down a little bit. A little hair popping out the top of these shirts here.
Easy. You got the
I
Phil
call
and Phyllis.
Yeah.
Yeah, Phil and Phyllis hat. I like it. All right. First, let's go to the people. What are the people saying?
It's 110% Sixers today.
Is it really?
Big fan of the show.
Draft?
Vince Pellegrini was started off early. And basketball's done in Philly for a decade.
Gee, thank you, Mr. Ops guy. I hear it, all PHLY. We only have the best Sixers coverage.
Jimmy Garecki, yo cuz, Maury gotta go. WC 13, no Brett Brown, no Ben Simmons, no Doc Rivers,
I saw that.
no James Harden, no excuses.
Yeah, he's right.
Pooped cheetah, number 2. This was the most embarrassing home court game of my life. Kind of agree.
Wow. Was it this one or the Hawks Father's Day?
No, this one.
This one's the worst for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one
Took
was
over
brutal.
our arena.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I
that's
see
bad.
that.
That's bad.
Well, that was bad. Yes, Andrew. Yes.
Sure, we'll get to that.
I mean, that's a whole.
That's another separate
Yeah,
thing.
like just devastated. They came in. What's it? There Will Be Blood. The movie. They drank our milkshake, which was brutal, man.
I know.
Came to town and they drank it. And they.
But
stuck
here's the
on it.
thing: like you can't blame Sixers fans because of what it's been like here.
I don't know. Ask Joel Embiid that question.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in fairness, the retort is, yo, dude, like, how much torture are you going to put forth on these people?
Well, I think it's a combination. Yeah. How many times have we been here and seen it? And when they got Harden 2 years ago, ticket prices jumped a good bit.
Yeah.
Pretty much priced out anything other than corporate people in that lower level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're seeing, you know.
Yeah.
Nobody can afford the secondary market prices at all.
Well, not when you're playing New York.
Yeah.
And you got New York money.
Yep.
That's the problem. And what do you tell? I've always had this struggle. And I'll ask you guys.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy for me to sit here and go, hey, you can't sell your tickets for a profit. Right? Like, it's easy for me to sit here and go, that's a violation because you're selling it to the opponent team. And obviously, we all agree that's not good. That's not a good look. But then the flip side is somebody who's, we're working people.
Yeah.
Who you get,
Right.
you can actually turn a score. I mean, how you turn it down?
It's a tough situation because I'm a season ticket holder with the Phils and playoffs. I get tempted playoff time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
could pay
it's
for
good
my whole
profit.
season package buying a World
Right.
Series.
Yeah, you really can't fault those people. Like, the one thing that I see online today was the whole Eagles thing. You never see that happen at the Link. But the thing is that look, obviously tickets at the Link are extremely expensive, but that organization has brought us more joy than what the Sixers have done over the past couple of years. So a lot of those fans are going to keep those seats
Well,
and
it's
are going to show
also
up as
a
well.
different animal, right? Like,
Yeah, that's true too.
it's a football
NFL,
season. It's
NBA.
NFL.
You got eight games.
Yeah.
Tickets even the lower level are more affordable than
Yeah.
Sixers lower
Like,
level.
you'll never
tickets.
see that environment that we saw yesterday at the Wells Fargo Center. You'll never see that at the Link. Never. Like,
No.
you will never see a team take us over. You'll never see a team go into the main lobby and scream, F Jalen Hurts or anything like that.
No,
Like, that'll never happen. at the
no,
Link.
you're right about that. No, you're right.
And
on
that
it.
goes.
It's sad.
That
man.
was sad.
Yeah, the
The
FMV,
FMV thing
the
was-
MVP chants. They're selling Knicks merch outside.
Yeah,
Wells Fargo,
I mean,
Knicks
that's telling.
t-shirts,
And it's all because it's New York money, man. That's the bottom line.
yeah.
Now,
It was a money grab on all fronts, including from the hucksters selling the merch.
Now, I hate to bring this up, but it does raise a good point. So imagine we have 76th place. We're in downtown Philadelphia, and that happens again. And we have like a fan base like the Knicks that take over, and they run out into Market Street, start doing all this. What's that scene going to look like if that happens?
What's the difference, though? I mean, whether it's South Philly or Center City,
It's definitely a little more exile. They're kind of in their
Exotic?
own little island down there.
in exile. I think.
No.
I don't think so. I think it's this. Listen, you get a bunch of Philadelphians and You get a takeover. We're not used to that. We're used to taking over the stadiums and arenas.
Yeah.
We talk about, the true fan travel.
Yeah.
And all the Eagles trips and
I've been on a
taking
couple
over
of them,
and, going there like Visigoths.
Yeah.
Like we've said that.
I mean, we take over DC. We can't afford to take over
Yeah.
New York, but we take over DC
Yeah, we
with
do.
Nats games
Yes.
and any other sport down there because their
I
team has
know.
struggled.
I went to Nashville in 2018. I went to Arizona in 2022. Both times we took over.
Yeah. I mean, the issue really is we've
frustrating.
gotten punked.
Yeah, we got
it's super
beat down
frustrating.
yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
On the court.
We
off
lost
the court.
we lost our home court,
Yep.
and we had to suffer through another loss.
Brutal us.
Yeah.
How you feel about they put the Knicks jersey on Wilt?
Yeah, they did do that.
They put the
Nick-
Knicks
I
jersey
mean,
on Wilt.
I know, dude. I know. It's
That one
horrible.
hurt.
Yeah. Like, listen, we remember what happened with the Vikings fans,
Yeah.
the Rocky statue with the purple panties. Bad. It was bad.
Yeah, this one hurt more than just a loss. I'm used to the Sixers just disappointing us in the playoffs, but this one hurt.
Biggest reason to blame. I'll start with you, JP. Who you blame the most for yesterday?
For the Sixers in general?
Yes.
I mean, I guess you kind of have to blame Daryl. I mean, like you look at the cast around Joel and Tyrese, and that's what we're talking about, right? Like if you get something out of someone else not named Maxey or Embiid, one of the big things we're talking about this series is toughness. This team lacks toughness. Although
but let me
beginning of the
ask
year,
you-
they did have two guys who did bring that toughness.
Well, but let me play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
So if you make the determination that, look, I know Kyle called it a gap year, that you're not going to win this year, you might take a shot, but you're not going to win, and that you have the freedom to not sign the OG, but now the freedom after this offseason to go out and build the whole roster around Embiid and Maxey, don't you say, all right, before I blame him, I got to see what next year looks like.
No, I mean, I get it. I'm just saying, like, as of right now, that's the one I'm going to blame.
Yeah.
Obviously, listen, the offseason can change a lot of things.
But that's the
It's
mindset.
tough.
Like, the mindset is it's not this year, it's we're going to build it next year. What's the matter?
What do you got, Andrew?
Andrew's like chomping.
Yeah,
You look
because
runnerish.
the thing, the thing why I'm looking that way is because I just feel like year in and year out, we have the same argument about having role players around Embiid. And if it's the same front office making the same decisions, what's going to be different next year? Well, how many times have we changed role players around Embiid and everybody, and it's always the same product? Is it going to change? I don't think so.
Well, it may not, and it could be Embiid is, snake bitten or whatever you want to say, right? He's not a winner. I've heard that, or he's just got tremendous bad luck. I've heard that. Whatever it is, that could be it. As far as the roster construction, you've been chasing. Ben Simmons turns into Harden, right? And there was so much you could put around him. Next year will be the first year where we'll actually have roster freedom. And that's the truth of the matter.
But to Andrew's point there, well, what has Morey done? What has his track record said that he's going to be able to put that team into?
I'm not telling you he will. My point is that
You like the house money of it?
well, no. Here's my point: is that you had Ben Simmons, you had to deal with Ben Simmons. So Morey says, "All right, well, the only way I can get rid of Ben Simmons is to get James Harden, to trade one wart for another wart who's going to play. Played, came up short, whole thing, and now you have all this freedom. Morey didn't sign Tobias Harris, right? So you can't put that on Morey. You got to go into it and go, all right, well, what's this offseason going to be like? You agree, disagree?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, where this was a throwaway year. I don't want to say that, but that's kind of what it seemed like.
Whatever you want to call it.
But I do think, and maybe this was the best he could have done with 1-year deals, but we were bought into these role players, and they stunk.
Oh, dude. I raise my hand when it comes to Buddy. Who expects? I defy you.
That was big.
Who
yeah.
expects Buddy Hield to completely go into a turtle shell?
It was.
I mean, I've never seen anything like. Have you guys ever seen a guy Like, this is a kid who played in a national championship game.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Big time
here's a
college
guy who
basketball.
played big-time college ball. I talked to Legs on Friday about this.
Yeah.
Who expects him to completely go hide under a rock?
He's a shooter, right? What shooters are
It's
like
terrible.
Shooters walk around with onions, right?
that?
That's
Yeah,
the whole
they
rack
could be
thing.
over 12. They're jacking,
Like,
they shoot.
That's it. You got to be unconscious. This dude, he didn't want the basketball.
No. Looking on the sideline, like
Legs said Friday they don't run that offense where he just is posted up on the corner and just can catch and shoot. All right, but you still gotta be able to pull the trigger. I've never seen anything like it.
No, dude has no confidence.
It's
right
like
now.
it's like a big leaguer who goes up to the plate and just doesn't want to swing.
Dude, it's as if he just came from the G League to this series
Yeah,
and never played
it's
pro
funny
ball.
yield.
I know.
Like, it's not like he's like nobody.
Can I just say this? I know you're talking about roster construction. The biggest name that they're looking at, and this has been realistic, we've been seeing the stories coming out, is Paul George. Paul George is a wart. You want to talk about warts? I don't think that he's going to be a winner.
That's another
and to bring him
conversation.
in
Now, he
here,
had a good game yesterday.
He did.
but that's what I'm talking about. Ownership right now, this front office, they're making those decisions to bring Paul George in. I have no hope. I'm sorry, but I don't.
Okay, well, before we get to Paul George, we got to get past the series, and then we'll get into that roster construction. Unfortunately, some of the now Siakam hasn't signed the extension. Everybody says he's going to, so that's that. We'll see. I want to see how it plays out. But the mindset of going into redoing a whole roster around Embiid and Maxey was smart, Andrew. It was. I mean,
I have nothing
don't know how it's
against
going to
Maxey.
work out, but it's smart.
I have nothing against Maxey and Embiid.
Can we all just agree? B-ball Paul, he stinks. I know there's some weird Philly love for him. They have to find a big that's serviceable for 10 to 12 minutes. My
We're still
God.
talking about this after all these years.
My God. Like, I have friends who are huge
how many
B-ball
times I
Paul
reel
fans.
on that about not his basketball IQ?
They,
Dude,
they
where do they-
named the sport after
Yeah,
him.
but where do the Knicks find these
We
centers,
love these.
though?
See, we love these stories of these role players, and half of them blow.
Yeah.
Blow.
I mean, half of them just are not like. We love these guys. Sometimes they just can't play.
The muckers and the grinders.
Yes,
That's
and
cool.
meanwhile, the true muckers and grinders are wearing orange and blue.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, Josh Hart again, 6'5", 17 rebounds. No, what are you kidding me?
Hey, look, I compiled the bench scoring of the winning teams yesterday. Knicks 14 points, T-Wolves bench 17 points, Pacers bench 28 points, Clippers bench 22, Sixers 6.
Yeah, I mean,
They're just not
right
even.
there.
They're not even in comparison with the rest of the league.
no. But and by the way, you can't even find guys on the bench that you want to play.
No.
I mean, I
give
get
some
Nick Nurse. I go,
some
you got to
campaign
get
minutes.
Embiid rest
Yeah.
because Embiid just doesn't have the gas tank to go an entire second half.
That was a mistake, not
It was,
resting
it
him
was
in
a
the
bit,
fourth
it was
quarter.
a huge. In the
And-
third, he should have been gone. Like, I like the rhythm which they did it. It was 2 games ago where he sits the last 4 minutes or 5 minutes of the third quarter and a little bit of the fourth, and then you go let him finish the game.
Yeah. And I get they were getting totally outscored when Embiid's on the bench, but I think
You
even in
need
the
a
fourth
fresh at
quarter
the
with
end.
him out there, Knicks went on a 6-0 run at some point. He needed that rest.
And you saw him. I mean, he's sitting there and he's grabbing his shorts.
He's
He-
gassed.
30 feet from the basket.
There was the one possession he
Yes.
did not move. He
No.
stood at the 3-point line,
You and I
hunched
both
over.
said. I think we texted at the same time.
Yeah, he did not move. He just stood there.
He stood there, like bent over.
Yeah, at that point, just get him out for a minute. Give him a breather and some water.
But you got to get somebody. Like, and the other thing too is looking at Tobias Harris again. Oh God.
So what is it, Mike? I don't understand. Why was he not bought out? Not waived? Like, is that something Harris doesn't want to pay money for? Just dead money? Why is he here?
I think there's like a little glimpse that they feel like he can give you some type of production because there's been glimpses throughout these couple years where was it 20?
They weren't
Doc's
gonna
first
buy him
year. Doc's first
They were
year.
never going to buy him.
He was a borderline MVP
Is
in
that
the
just a
first half of the
financial
year.
decision?
Or all stars, not MVP. I'm sorry.
It's Tobias. So ultimately, he should be on the floor. I know you have nobody else, but I'd rather have Batum,
Yes.
whose energy, even though I'm not expecting him to do what he did against Miami, but just as an energy guy, I'd prefer to have him on the floor.
I'd rather see RC4. Give me a Ricky Council.
It's tough bringing him in for the
I
last 4
know.
minutes.
Now it's tough, but like we talked about this after game 1.
Yeah, no, that's fair. We did talk about it earlier. You should have done it earlier in the series.
Now it's too late.
Yeah, yeah.
And the pile on. The Phillies have 19 wins.
I know.
League leading 19 wins.
We should
and
be
they're a
happy.
game and a half out of first place.
I know.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I
The
know.
Braves. I mean,
win.
they need to be investigated. I want some drug testing going on with the Braves. I mean, something is going
what's
on
crazy
down
about
there.
them is that I look at their pitching and go, I am. Charlie Morton's 1,000 years old, right?
No.
Like Max Free's okay, like whatever. I look at Elder, Bryce Elder, stuff's okay.
Bats getting
Right?
done over there.
And they just don't. It's amazing. It's incredible. All they do is just rake.
Rake.
Ozuna,
Mm-hmm.
right?
He needs to be tested. That guy suddenly
Ozuna.
Sammy Sosa this year.
I wanted Ozuna.
Marcelo
How
Ozuna.
long we want Ozuna for? He was a guy you could always pick up. And meanwhile, all he does is he hit bombs and doubles,
Dude, I got Ronaldo Lopez. In my fantasy league, he's starting for the Braves now. He's ranked 19th in our league. He's insane.
Yeah.
Like, how did they get it out of this guy?
And they bring him up when Austin Riley. Started with that Austin Riley, Albies, Acuna.
It's just
right? Like all they do
Prospect
is
after prospect.
yeah. How about what's the Michael Harris, who's fantastic.
Yeah, local.
But this Phillies team, they're a juggernaut.
Yeah, they sweep the Padres.
19 wins. It's true,
Well,
man.
that's what I'm saying. We get the April we've wanted. It just felt like a piled on kick in the junk when they're 19. They league leading 19 wins and they're not in first place.
Yeah,
you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, but at some point, I love the Phillies rotation compared to Atlanta, and the Phillies will hit.
Yeah.
So it's going to come down to how it is. It's going to come down to October. Phillies and Braves again.
I love Brad, but come on, violations picking Mike Trout to hit a home run tonight. Bet Mike Trout to hit a home run tonight against Sanchez. Come on, Brad.
Yeah. Well, he got
Read the room.
Listen, he got hit Friday night because Musgrave got raked. Musgrave, I loved it. Musgrove. I was like, oh my God. I think I texted him like, Musgrove.
I think I got a Phil's nugget you might like. I don't know if you know this or not. Does the name Samuel Aldegeri ring a bell for you?
No.
You're going to like this.
All right.
He's a 6'1 southpaw playing at the Jersey Shore Phillies team from Verona, Italy.
Oh,
yeah.
He's on track. He's hoping to be the first native-born Italian player to make the bigs.
there we go.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Right now, he's got 15 and a third innings pitched. His whip is 0.58.
Let's
In
go.
15 and a third innings, he's got 21 Ks and 0 earned runs.
That's fabulous.
Wow.
There we go.
That's awesome. And he's from Verona.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's very cool.
That
Let me ask you, let's go best and worst of the weekend.
okay.
All right.
We're going best first.
Yes. You want to stay with worst?
I mean,
Let's go worst. I'll start with you, JP.
obviously we don't need to talk about the Knicks taking over Wells Fargo or Joel, but I want to talk about the Suns because if you think we're in a bad spot, let's talk about the Phoenix Suns. Number one, I think you guys saw the clip on Twitter. Bradley Beal going to the bench, Frank Vogel trying to get the hand clap, and Bradley was like, "Nope, I'm going right to the bench. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to even shake your hand." And then
Well, he was horrible. Yes. Like Bradley Beal was terrible. Did you watch that game? He was terrible.
that whole series was bad for the Suns. That was just a terrible,
No, he stunk.
Yeah.
He sucked. Like Bradley Beal, and we always talk about Beal, during
God,
the
we didn't
process.
get him. Oh, my
Dame,
God.
Beal, throwing the same freaking names out, right? He sucked.
He did.
He was horrible. Listen, KD brought it. Booker brought it, obviously. The rest of that team, mutt.
Well, Kevin Durant is now again in a tough spot with, what's his future going to look like. But the worst part about this team has 0 first-round picks from 2025 to
traded all. They're
2030
done.
and 0 second-round picks from this year till 2030. That is a terrible situation.
Yeah, they're done.
The Suns, if you're a Suns fan, we feel for PHNX because obviously they're losing the Coyotes, and now the Suns are terrible.
Yeah.
Shout out to them.
KD, come here. Just saying it. Just saying it.
Beal had 9 points last night.
He was terrible. So I watched that game. He was terrible.
All right, I think I have a photo visual effect or
Of worst.
accompanying my worst. I saw this at a grocery store yesterday. I went grocery shopping. There's a gentleman walking the aisles with two 40-pound dogs in the grocery store, just cruising down the aisle.
Still
with
got
the
more
leashes
dogs than the Sixers.
The leash is attached to his cart. Come on, bro. You gotta be kidding me.
No. Yo, listen.
People might be allergic to dogs. I'm a dog guy. They might be afraid of dogs.
I love dogs.
Yeah.
You can't bring dogs into.
They're
a
not service
grocery
dogs,
store.
right? These are just regular.
No, they are not service dogs.
Yeah, they don't look
Where's
like
that?
service
The
dogs.
Acme? Where's that at? That street?
No, those dogs never get into Acme. It's Whole Foods.
It was Whole Foods?
Yeah, on South Street.
Yeah. Actually, I look at it, I'm saying it look familiar because I lived right down the street for 20 years.
No, that's a JO move, bringing two dogs
Yeah,
like
it's
that
stone.
to the
Yes, that's a
grocery
violation.
store.
I agree.
Can't leave the dogs at
Stone.
home. Like,
Yeah.
No, you can't bring dog. First, you're right. You can't bring a dog to a grocery. Listen, nobody loves dogs like we love dogs.
Yeah.
Right? You do charity stuff for the dogs. I got Goose and my Bocce. Like we love our dogs.
Love
you
dogs.
don't bring them. It's not right.
If I bring an apple home and there's random dog hairs on my apple,
Yeah.
I'm irritated.
Yeah, yo, dude, come on. And they're shedders, those dogs.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can see they're beautiful dogs, but they were
The
shedders.
only thing worse than that was my bill, $205 for two people.
Forget
shopping.
Whole Foods. Forget about it.
You'll go broke.
I get nervous every time my wife goes, "Oh, I'm ordering Whole Foods today." Okay. And then Anthony got like the bags are going. It's like he just ate $200, like there's $200 bills. So best.
I'm going to go with one of my favorites growing up, D-Jack. He's staying in the Philly area. It looks like he's going to be the new wide receiver and return specialist for what was formerly known as Woodrow Wilson High School, now Eastside High School in Camden, New Jersey. Giving back to the kids. Love giving that tutelage
That's
to some
cool.
of those kids.
Yeah.
He's coaching?
D-Jack, yo kids.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You gotta get D-Jack on there.
I got to get D-Jacks on the Yo Kids.
That's
That's
awesome.
right. That's good stuff.
It was fun.
I love it.
Boom
Boom.
weekend.
Dude,
Breaking.
571 he hit this weekend.
dude,
Nasty.
you know what's amazing about him? His plate coverage.
Yeah.
Not to geek out, but his plate coverage is absurd. Like no one is a contact guy like him. Like he's one of those guys that I have the ultimate faith in to make contact.
Yeah.
Because his coverage is incredible.
But I just read he's being more selective. Like he can cover the plate, but he's staying off the pitches on the end that he can hit for a weak, ground outer. So he's really being more selective about the strikes he's swinging at.
He's a great hitter. He's a terrific
Some
hitter.
power, 3 doubles, a home run this weekend.
Can I give you my my best?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I have to.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Speaking
I
of
actually
plate coverage,
I have his home run trot. I was going to send it. I'm like, nah, it's stupid. But Moss went yard. First real home run.
There you go, Mom.
All right, like real home run over the
clear the
fence.
fence. Yeah.
Yeah, like it
nice.
was like two, and he hit one Saturday, and then he came back and hit another one on Sunday.
There we go.
So he's got two fired up.
Yeah,
you
dude,
go,
he's got to be
Moss.
feeling great.
Yeah, he's
trotting around.
Yeah, you got the 2J. The second one, I go, dude, you perfected your home run trot. He was like on cloud 9. And the beauty is the kids. Like when you see these, like all the kids come out of the dugout, they're jumping up and down.
Yeah.
They're a beautiful bunch of kids, man.
Is that a rare thing at that age? Like I'm not like clearing the fence. Does that happen?
No, well, it's not an everyday occurrence,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it happens.
Okay.
Especially with these bats.
Yeah.
Now, right away last night, he was on the bat patrol last night. He's like, Daddy, can I get a new bat? Because everybody swings the Easton Fire bat.
They're expensive
Those
these
are like
days, right?
$300-$400.
Oh, God, you dude. You don't even want to know. So, but all these kids, and you see these kids, they swing this bat, and it's like this fire bat. It's like the orange, yellow.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
now Moss wants, now he thinks he's
You're here hitting home runs with this bat. Why do you need a better bat?
Right now,
bat?
he's
This is your
like,
bat.
oh, what about? So we're watching the baseball bros last night.
Oh.
They do a bat. You never see the baseball
No.
bros? So
That's it.
they're like the baseball bat bros.
Okay.
So they try out all the bats, and it's awesome because like the guy will hit it a mile. It's 115 exit velo. He hit one yesterday with these because these bats they're like almost illegal. These bats. He hit a ball. It went 550
Wow.
feet. Yeah, I got to show you the video. The exit velo was 122.
They have a pitching machine throwing it to him?
No, it's somebody throwing
Like
people.
batting practice.
It was
bonkers.
ridiculous. 550 feet, 122 Exit velo.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it was.
It's good stuff,
it was
EJ.
yeah,
That's
like he's
bonkers.
doing
That's
it,
bro.
Yeah.
He's got a pencil bat.
Yes, that's
I like those pencil bats.
That's one of those.
Oh, I've seen
tattoos.
those guys.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
YouTube
a
stuff.
big fan of the baseball bat bros.
You got to show Moss the videos of the kids in Dominican playing ball with bats from 30 years ago.
Dude,
Training with those
dude,
bats.
you want to talk about that's why you'll see some home runs. Now, I will tell you, like they were legit. Like his were
Yeah.
legit last night. I was over the weekend.
So you order a bat?
No,
Is
not
bat
yet.
coming?
What's that?
Is a bat in the future?
He's got to sign. So I said, listen, you have to sign a contract.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make him. There's all these tasks, hard work, chores around the house. Like it's going to be step. So he's got
Love
to
it,
sign the
cuz.
contract,
Love it.
and then if he signs the contract, he gets the bat. But if he doesn't fulfill the contract, the bat goes away.
You got a safe you can put the bat into?
Well,
Like, what do you
I-
mean, under your bed? He's
It's
gonna
probably
find the bat.
the most expensive thing I'll own. Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
These kids, man.
So draft, you guys neither said anything about the draft. I'll start with you because I know you were always a skeptic.
What I think of the Eagles draft or the draft in general?
The Eagles draft.
I mean, the Eagles draft was freaking fantastic. We touched upon it in the opening monologue here today, but obviously love starting it off with the two cornerbacks there. Obviously you get the nostalgic pick with Jeremiah. I think we all texted each other in the group chat once Jeremiah Trotter pick happened because that was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Get a linebacker, someone we all love. You interview
By the way,
him.
fifth round, man. Like
I was
that's a
little shocked
value
about that. I
pick.
thought he was going to fall to second or third, but we get him in the fifth. That was
I thought he would
freaking
go
awesome.
fourth.
Yeah.
You know.
I like the Keegan kid out of Michigan. I think you guys saw the video as well. He's already
Yeah.
built for Philly,
Yeah.
chugging beers after
Yeah,
the
yeah.
national championship
Yeah.
game. But no, Howie does it again, getting a lot of value picks. He fit a lot of needs as well. It was, again, another home run draft for Howie Roseman. It was great.
I mean, Howie owns the process and draft day. He does it really well. On paper, sure. Yeah, great draft. We felt the same way the last 2 years. So
No, I hear you.
we'll see what
Jordan
happens.
Davis, fair. You know, again.
You know, we'll see what
Well,
happens.
that's why-
I love he went defense heavy. I was
Yeah.
surprised at that.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we just went 20 minutes overtime.
There we go. OT.
So we're in the OT.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for us. Listen, we love you. Our back in the day moment, by the way, was brought to you by Rite Aid. You can find all of your favorite goods at Rite Aid. Oh, man. Well, hopefully tomorrow, I don't know how we're going to look at the rest of this Sixer series. We'll get more into the draft. And, of course, the fightings. Mike Trout. In the
Ooh.
Everybody have a wonderful day. We love you. Enjoy the weather. It's going to be nice. And we'll see you in the morning.
We all silly like the mayor.